Okay, our YouTube live stream is taking off very soon. Our YouTube live stream is coming on very soon. So we're excited for this. Okay, our YouTube live stream is taking off very soon. Uh, okay, guys. All right. So someone asked me, what would I say? I'll quickly share about what would I say given the situation. Um, so if I were to meet one of these people, I would always start with a compliment. So something about them or their company or like it, especially if I've heard or learned about them, I did my research or I'm fascinated by them, I would always start with a compliment. Like, hey, I really like this. Then I would try to get into casual conversation, something that's more personal. Like if we're at a cafe, what coffee are you getting? If we're in an elevator, what floor are you going to? So then we have built some common rapport. And this is like 5 seconds. And then right after that, I would share like, I would tell them a little bit about my background. Hey, my name is Yassine. I'm the CEO of Headstarter. Or hey, my name is Yassine. I'm a software engineer at Capital One, or I'm an intern at whatever, or I'm a student, I'm a CS student at so and so. I really like my most impressive thing is so in this. I was just curious, and I will always ask them a question. You have to ask them a question. Never like sell something. You'd always like ask them a question and I did it as a well thought out question, right? Like if it's Shariar, like, hey, so what's it like being working on financial transactions without having a finance background? How did you get through that? Are you a bank? Like, do people give you want to get them to open up? You want to get them to like really share like what they're doing. And so that just like that's kind of like how I would go about it. There's been some really good responses here though. So a lot of you guys have already like done some research connecting different things. So um that's really good. And I would always leave that 30-second with trying to get their email or some form of contact. And then after I get their contact, I'll follow up with them the next day or immediately. Hey, you remember me? We met at the cafe. And previously I met you at Headstarter. And then after that, in a follow-up email, I would say another follow-up, like, hey, why don't we get a conversation somewhere? Or if they're really big, busy or they don't have time, I would say like, hey, I really appreciate your journey. I'd love to keep you posted and reach out to you, sometime. And that's it. You don't have any call to action. You just let them know you really appreciated their time and hopefully they remember you for who you are. Actually, sorry. People are not going to remember you for who you are. They're going to remember you for the questions you ask them. Because whenever you ask a question, it makes them feel something. And they're going to remember that feeling, right? So if you can ask good questions or any questions in general, even the stupid ones, you can probably have good ones. And I see people are asking me to pin someone's messages. I'll take a look into that in a bit. Um, Oh, correct. Yeah, please don't spam anything. So, if I'm able to pin that, that'd be great. I want to bring on our upcoming panel. So let's see if I can these Dustin. Hey Dustin, I just made you a panelist. So if you're able to like talk, let me know. Do like a little mic check 1, 2 or something.
Hey, yes, and I'm just coming in 1 second.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, take your time to take a minute. Looks like I can hear you. There we go.
Yeah,
Amazing.
there we are. Hey.
Hey, hey. So, really, it's an honor to have you here, Dustin. Want to quickly tell us what city and country you're calling in from?
Yeah, so the city and the country is the same. It's Singapore.
Oh, shoot. Okay, and what's a fun fact about you? What are you doing in Singapore, and how long have you lived there?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I've been here 3 years, but I've been in Asia 16 years. I've lived in Japan, I've lived in Hong Kong, and now Singapore. but I'm originally from Atlanta. And then, yeah, I've done global business my whole career. Most people kind of start off domestic and then go global. I've always been handling global markets.
Incredible, incredible. So Dustin, I am super stoked to introduce you and have you share your journey and a little bit background about yourself. Uh,
Thanks.
so Dustin was a former manager and would you say director as well at
Yeah.
AMD.
Yep.
You led their product division in South Asia, and as you know, you're very, very close with both the rise of NVIDIA and also the, how sustainable it is because you're a product leader and thought leader in this space. Before that, you've worked a ton of jobs before landing at AMD, and
Yep.
most recently, you're the director of Lattice. So there's going to be some interesting comments. Wouldn't want you to be fazed by any of them. I want to give you 5 minutes to share about your personal journey and some, advice you would have, and then another 5 minutes if you can share about very specifically how can people build their own product because you're a product leader, and some advice on that, especially with the context that a lot of people here are being, held to a level of standard where they have to ship to 1,000 users or make $1,000 in revenue. So go
Yeah.
ahead. Justin.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so at a high level, a little bit of background on me. I'm computer science background, and then went into the business side in my career. I actually started learning computer science by myself. So I'm old enough to have grown up in the 90s, and back then we had the Riley O'Reilly books, these books you may see with various animals on the front. And so it used to be a really exciting thing when a new book would come out, because in a lot of ways that's how we learned. This was kind of pre-internet. And then once we got the internet, obviously we got on like ICQ and Usenet and all these other things to where you could trade stories. But basically started off teaching myself C back in the day, and then also did like networking. So it used to be like a job to be the sysadmin, essentially. I guess it still is, but back in those days, sysadmin, like, I'd literally just set up people's computers and wire together like Ethernet, and it was magic. Like the first time we wired up the Ethernet at my school, the teachers had no idea what it was, and I became basically the tech teacher at my high school while I was like 16 or something like that, and started getting paid. And I was making, like a lot more than my friends who were, working at McDonald's or whatever. And so I thought, oh wow, this is awesome. Tech's pretty cool. And so I went to university and majored in computer science and kind of went through, I guess I would consider a traditional computer science program. This is at the University of Georgia. And you kind of start off, you do your standard. Java was the main language that they taught. And so we start off doing Java. We learned object-oriented programming, which was still a bit of a new thing. My father was actually a programmer as well from the late 80s. Like he was really like uh, one of the first kind of generations, or I guess the first generation to be programming out in the corporate world. And he didn't really code in object-oriented programming. So like just that was kind of a thing. And then we kind of went through that. We went through data structures, like kind of like trees and sorting. We went into theory. That's where we got introduced into like finite automata and like regular expressions and pumping lemmas and big O. So like all of these things that as computer scientists are really important, but maybe since then, apart from regular expressions, maybe don't come up in common everyday language outside of like, software engineering circles. But it kind of gave a good insight into the history of computer science, which is math. And a lot of my professors were actually math guys. They've been around since like, the 60s. And, they were doing computer science since before it was really a thing. And so it was kind of cool to see the history that way. And then later we got into advanced kind of classes like networking security. Myself really hard, and this is something I'm glad that I did, was I took the kind of hybrid graduate level classes where you got like up in the 3,000, 4,000 level, or 300, 400, depending on what you call it. That would be a hybrid class along with the graduate students, right? And like the first year graduate students. And so I pushed myself to like, we went through RSA encryption, like line by line. How does it work? We went through all the sorting algorithms and learned the efficiencies and all these types of things. So that was really, really insightful, to where I started kind of seeing things as two disciplines, like one, the algorithmic side or the kind of thought process, if you want to call it that, and then the actual software engineering side of like, how do we implement pseudocode. If this is the algorithm is the idea, the pseudocode, how do we then go implement that in a professional, robust, scalable, secure manner? These kind of two different disciplines. And so as a part of that, I kind of did my own stuff at home. Like I had set up my own Linux server in my dorm room, and I was running websites off of it and coding websites myself. And I had like my own blog engine, like before Blogger was a thing. And like I even started kind of doing like a little bit of a what we call social network today. But I heard about this guy like Mark up in Harvard was doing something, and I was like, oh, that doesn't really sound very interesting. So I was really really wrong about that, obviously. And so, yeah, I kind of just continued on with computer science traditionally, and then as I was studying, I saw some job ads, and they were hiring for something called bioinformatics, and I had no idea what that was, and so I just applied. I was like, well, I need a summer job, and I don't want to go work at McDonald's or something, so no shade on McDonald's, but applied for that, and it turned out to just be really awesome because I got exposed to working at a graduate level lab in the Department of Biochemistry, where we started doing what today maybe you call big data, right? So we took in literal just like DNA, it's like all of the T's and what have you, like all the letters, and it's text from a computer science standpoint. And then we basically started to draw correlation between when we did, or the scientists did, work in the wet lab. How did that impact what DNA looked like, and what people who had cancer, what was the correlation between people who had cancer and people didn't versus what the lab results were. And so it was kind of this, I stumbled onto this career essentially in big data by answering a job ad. So I kind of reflecting on that a bit was like, looking for opportunities and taking opportunities, even though you don't know where they go, sometimes can really play off. And it then got me some mentorship with like a graduate level famous guys in bioinformatics, to where I got to learn from them. And I got to take a lot of responsibility. Like I think literally we went down to a computer store and bought like 60 servers and then set it up ourselves. And that was our first data cluster. This is before Kubernetes, obviously, or anything like that, or containers even existed. And we were like, wiring together servers with Perl scripts. So that was pretty fun. And then after university, so I got some interviews at telcos and that kind of stuff, because of my bioinformatics work, and so that helped me land like really my first programming job. Was working doing like business automation flow, like RFP flows, RFQ flows. So in the business world, that's request for proposal or request for quote. Is when you go out and buy something at an enterprise level. Typically, people kind of do an initial solicitation of bids and offers. That's called an RFQ or an RFP. And so I started writing like automation workflows for things like that in the corporate world in .NET, and transitioned from Java into C# at the time. And kind of as I was doing that, I you know I liked being a programmer. I liked being behind the desk. I liked the product, or I like building things, but I loved the people aspect of it too. Like I really loved HCI when I was in university as well. And so that kind of led into me raising my hand to get into the product side and want to be the bridge in between the technical team and the customer and the sales team. And then that kind of expanded. And just to shift forward 20 years of career, I went back and did my MBA, and then after my MBA, I got hooked up with AMD and kind of got harder into the hardware side of things and the semiconductor side of things. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of like career-wise at a high level, what I've done there. At AMD, actually, as Yasin mentioned, I was the lead South Asia, but also I was the GM for their consumer business in Asia Pacific before I got back into the software side of artificial intelligence at Lattice, working computer vision. So I've gotten to get hardware side of AI at AMD, and then software side a bit now at Lattice, and then in my private life, also kind of working with a few different companies, a few startups in the AI space. So it's been kind of interesting, but I'd say it's like going back to what we did 20 years ago in the lab. A lot of the stuff is the same concept. I mean, it really hasn't changed that much. LLMs obviously is a different thing. Transformers is a different thing, or an improvement. But a lot of the kind of overarching ideas were there. And in fact, I remember talking to a professor of mine about the semantic web in his lab, 20, 25 years ago. And back in those days, JSON hadn't yet been invented. We were like just we were like scratching our heads, like, how can we get the two websites to talk to one another? Like, and what would they talk about? We were trying to figure this out through like XML and stuff. And it's just kind of funny to see, like, actually some of those nuggets of those ideas have stuck around, and now we're finally getting to see them implemented. So it's pretty cool to still be in the industry and still relatively young, to where I can go out and hopefully bring some of these things to fruition that have been talked about for years, and hopefully contribute part to it. All right. So I'm happy to try to pause for questions if somebody can help me read. I can't read the chat fast enough. I'm happy to take them. If
Dustin, I can kind of guide you through some of these questions,
Yeah,
but I did want to kind of get your 2 cents on the importance of team collaboration and the importance of soft skills in the tech industry.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll transition a bit there. Thanks. So the second half, I'll kind of talk about from a hiring perspective, right? So just to dive right into soft skills. So um, as you can kind of see, as I expanded my career, the core functionality of the technical skills is the foundation, is the base, right? And you wouldn't be in the chair if you didn't have them to some extent, right? Now, obviously, mastery is a different thing, and this is a lifelong art and science that we practice. But ultimately, to do something big, you're going to have to collaborate with other people, and you're going to have to collaborate with people both laterally to the same, your peer group, people above you, especially at beginning in your career, people below you as you get higher up in your career, and also people outside of your functional area. And so for me, what I've found is the most powerful skill is communication, the ability to go out and articulate your position on something, to listen to what the other person's position is on something, what their goals and values are, what they're ultimately trying to do. Maybe what word did they choose? Did they choose like an active verb in this case versus like a passive one? What's their motivation level? All of these things kind of put together will let you ultimately rise above and ultimately get your projects into the real world, get your businesses to be successful. And to kind of go into the second part of the discussion around hiring is when I'm out hiring, that's kind of how I'm bucketing things. I'm looking at, okay, what are the kind of core technical skills? Like, okay, if it's a software developer, are we talking C, C++, Python? Do PyTorch or TensorFlow? Can you show me a project? These kind of like basic kind of portfolio things, like basically walk me through your GitHub, like that kind of stuff. Then when we go beyond that, I kind of encapsulate it as attitude. And I would say that's actually the thing I'm looking for, because to some extent, you have the skill, or we can teach a skill. Like I can teach a hard skill actually, or if somebody is maybe not so good at market analysis or something like that, like if they don't know how to like gauge a TAM and then identify a SAM or whatever, or they don't know the 4 Ps of marketing, I can teach these things actually quite easily and readily if they're willing to learn. And if they have the willingness, like if they have the capacity to learn and the willingness to learn. And so, and if they want to collaborate with me. So I always kind of tell people, like, I can't teach attitude. Like I can't teach somebody to be a good team player to some extent. I can't teach you to be a decent person. So you can, though. You can improve yourself. You can practice your communication skills, like Yasin said before. And that's something also I've actively tried to get better at, and am, I think, still trying to get better at, is how do I collaborate with people that maybe I'm just very different than them. I have very different interests in them, or in my case, I work across 18 countries in Asia Pacific. So you have to learn how to talk across cultural values and barriers and language barriers and all those types of things. And so learning that empathetic skill and practicing it is really, really important. And then you also kind of find that when you're working within teams, you want to have conflict, but you want to have the right type of conflict. You want to have a healthy type of conflict. So you want to have what we call task conflict and not personal conflict. And that implies that you're going to separate the two, right? And that implies that you have some sort of delineation or line of sight to, well, what's the task at hand? And then who are the people I'm working with, right? So I'll kind of say that again. What's the task at hand? What are we going to do here? What's the goal? And then who am I working with? Like, at a base level, who are they? What's their name? Where are they from? But okay, what are their goals? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses maybe? How can we come together as a team to accomplish this goal? And then when we have those conflicts, how can that be a healthy thing in that the ultimate product is going to get better because we have the conflict, right? Like we decided a path together that ultimately we couldn't have figured out as individuals. And this is a large topic that if you ever go do an MBA, actually you'll work a lot through. But at a high level, you'll kind of discover a few kind of elements there around just getting clarity on what you want to do is important and valuable. It may sound kind of trivial in an academic perspective, because in an academic perspective, you're typically handed an assignment, right? Whereas in the corporate world, that almost never happens, to be candid. Usually your job is to go figure out what to do. And that's a lot of the challenge, right? Just knowing what to do is maybe half the battle right there. But then if you've got to articulate why your view of the situation is appropriate or a good fit, and why others should follow you on this journey to go accomplish this goal. And then you need to, like I said, kind of work through the hurdles between the beginning and the end, even if you can't see the end, as to how we can ultimately come together as a team and make the best product that we can. And then I'll kind of just one final note on that, as I'll say a lot of times the pitfall I see is we've got a lot of things that we can do, but then how are we going to narrow down and prioritize and say what we should do right now, right? Like what's in a computer science perspective, it's like, okay, we've got 50 features on the docket here, but what's version 1.0? And what are we going to say for 2.0 and 3.0? And what are we just not going to do at all? And kind of getting a good group dynamic to where you can work together with trust, and you can work together with open communication, with the knowledge that, hey, if we're not in agreement, that's okay, right? We're not in agreement. That's a task conflict. We may not agree on the task, but on a personal level, we're good, right? Just because I don't agree with you on, whether we should use this API or that framework doesn't mean we're not getting coffee later. And so the kind of big takeaway I'll leave you there with is building that trust, I think, comes first, like to get to know your team, establish that kind of foundation, because you'll use that foundation later on, further on, and then keep refreshing it. Keep checking in with people, and don't just assume that because you had coffee with them 6 months ago, you guys are still, close together, right? So that team building stuff, as cliche as it is, it really, really matters, right? And a lot of times at an executive level, that's actually what you're doing, right? You're not working in the business necessarily. You will work on the business. Okay, I just happened to see one question as an American. Do you know a good place for these global jobs in tech? All right, so um, tech in general is a big world, right? Number one, what you will find from a hardware perspective is there are certain kind of centers of excellence, I'll call them, to where really you probably couldn't launch a tech product without them. And that would be Silicon Valley, increasingly Austin, Texas, then China, still Taiwan, Malaysia, and then the coordinating thing sometimes there a lot of times is Singapore. But you'll find a lot of the hardware tech industry, especially, is really, really semiconductors, especially, are really focused around those areas. And over time, you'll see probably that change due to the geopolitics. But yeah, for now, I think you'll still see things pretty much there. Let's see. Is it easier to find work in a different country compared to US in tech? Not necessarily. I think what you need to do is view things from a few different lenses. Is one, the geography, two is the people, and three is probably the skills you're looking to obtain. I would probably lean mostly into the people, right? Ultimately, you're going to get the best opportunity at the beginning through networking into the opportunities that you want. And then most importantly, or maybe just as importantly, the second opportunity is once you have the job, what are you going to learn? And in my experience, a lot of that does come down to the leadership that you're working for. Your superior officer is going to be able to, or your reporting manager is going to make a big change in your destiny. Yeah, and sorry, I saw a question about AMD GPUs and I couldn't read it, so may have to come back to that one. What would I ask? Okay, I caught one of like, what would how do you get to SF when you're not American? That's a very complicated one, obviously with the visas, but I'll say the American non-American thing. Um, I wouldn't read too much into it. I have a I have a multicultural team, and I've worked with people around the world. At the end of the day, what the color of your passport, the flag on your passport isn't really the thing that's going to make a difference. Like I said, the skills, the attitude that you have, willingness to work, communication skills, those make a big difference. That's where maybe being a non-American or a non-native English speaker, you may want to put some time, energy, and effort into is getting the language skills well, because it's like you could be, Albert Einstein, let's say, if he didn't speak English, well, he's not going to go help the US government in physics now, is he? It's really hard. And on top of that, we're not just dealing with normal everyday let's get coffee. We're dealing with semiconductors. We're dealing with like, node sizes or in computer science, finite automaton, all these things, these very complex technical topics. And so it's important that you're able to communicate those types of complex topics with your team, right? Although it's kind of difficult. And yeah, sorry, I'm getting so many. It's hard for me to follow on. But in today's job market, what would be my kernel panic? Oh no, I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to answer. I wouldn't be able to address kernel panic. Um, Imposter syndrome is an interesting one. And sorry, I'm trying to see if I can expand the chat here where I can get a little bit better line of sight. Let me address imposter syndrome actually, because that is actually something I find really interesting. Is everybody will deal with it, right? Myself included, my mentors included. I've chatted with my mentor about imposter syndrome sometime. Um, and actually, it goes back down to I think remembering that you have a lot of biases in your life, like just as a human, right? Like you naturally overreact more to things that just happen to you. That's recency bias. You naturally view yourself as the protagonist. That's a bias, right? And so imposter syndrome is in some ways implying that everyone's kind of thinking about you and judging you. And that's just simply not true. Most of the times people are not judging you and thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, right? Because they also have the protagonist bias, I'll call it. So number one is that's just not true. Number two, though, I would say is it's not a bad thing, I think, to challenge yourself and to ask yourself, yeah, am I a good fit for this in an honest fashion? And is this really what I want to do, or is this what somebody else wants me to do? Like, am I motivated to do this? And if you could say yes to those two things, well, three, prove it, right? Like it's not a bad thing to go prove things to yourself so that when it is natural that maybe you have times of self-doubt and you're thinking like, can I really do this? Go back to like, I don't know, your GitHub page where you built a difficult project, or go back to like the time where, man, I didn't notice it, but it was like 7 a.m. in the morning and I spent 5 hours just like, kind of reading about what's the latest algorithm in artificial intelligence. I really love this stuff, right? Like go back and kind of remind yourself of your experiences and ground yourself in the real world experiences. And I think you'll be able to kind of like quiet that voice in your head a little bit with like with reality and kind of get away from that kind of stuff. All right. Sorry, I saw a couple of other really good ones. Oh, how do you practice articulation and communication? Okay. So I wasn't actually a really good communicator early in my career either. I was very logical, very structured, very computer scientist, right? So I'm used to doing these huge projects, like we're going to define this and then we're going to go, do like a requirements analysis, and then we're going to come back with, and then we're going to have our stage gate processes, and then we're going to do our QA. It's these huge big things. That's not what communication's about. Communication is number one, not these huge structured projects. Communication is more dynamic and flowing. So loosen up. Number two is it's not perfection. No one's going to give you a QA about your communication, okay? And if they do, you can, tell them where to put it. You don't need to approach the skill of communication the way you approach the skill of software engineering. And then a lot of about it is about the person across the table from you. And so what I would try to do, I remember I had a job interview. It was really intense with the U.S. government early on in my career, and I was interviewing in like a mock kind of team setting, and they put us in a crisis situation in a scenario, and it was just, oh my God, it was stressful. And I was with people that are mostly older than me. I was maybe 26, and everybody in the room was like in their 40s and 50s, right? And so I just told myself, you know what? I'm not going to be able to go toe to toe. I'm just going to ask a good question. I'm going to ask one good question. And that's what I did. I just focused. I was like quiet. I listened and I asked one good question. So my advice on communication is start with good questions. Like Yasin kind of alluded to before, ask a good question, try to get insightful. Don't think you have to like, ask them their entire life story, but ask some good questions. And then again, listening, active listening is really the way to go when it comes to communication. Alrighty.
Dustin, thank you so much for the time. I really
Yep.
appreciate it. I know, for you in that side of the world, it's morning time. So we appreciate it.
My
Um,
pleasure.
so, Dustin, you had done some great, incredible work for us by talking to one of the senior directors of software engineering within AMD.
Yep.
And guys, the stuff that Dustin is talking about, this is like quality. And please like note, like write down notes, like what he's sharing, share with your friends, post it online, post it amongst like just, these are good things. These are good snippets. Now I'm going to give you like a bigger and a little bit more snippet. I'm excited for our next speaker too, but I just had to share this. I think this was incredible, like corpus of information that you had gotten. This is real leadership talking. This is real senior directors who are responsible for hiring, inventing what people look for in hiring, right? And you kind of shared, and you already kind of shared this in your talk, like, oh, you look for these signals, so and so signals. I think these were very, very interesting regarding like, the newer, like this is who AMD looks to hire, right? And we can kind of assume maybe this is also what NVIDIA is looking to hire because it's really this very similar pool of talent that
It
that
is.
yeah,
You'll discover, not interject, but you'll discover it's a very small industry. I'm literally seeing my counterpart in NVIDIA at a barbecue tomorrow.
that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's a really small industry.
and so I know people here would be asking this. Is it okay if I share this doc with the folks here? We can maybe clean it
What, sorry, what scale are we talking? How many folks are we sharing it with?
We might be like 15,000 people. We'll remove all the names. We'll remove all the names.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be my ask is
Yeah.
remove the names, and I think you should be good. Other than that, I think it's fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'll run it by you one more time. We'll run it
yeah,
by you one more time so that we
no
clean up
worries.
shouldn't be there. But I think it was great to have that insight as well as your own personal journey. Guys, can we just thank Dustin for his time? Like, what was your takeaway? What was your takeaway from his call today? What was your takeaway from his call today? Just share in the chat.
Thanks, guys.
Mm. Dustin, I don't know how fast you can read, but we're gonna test it.
I'll pipe it into ChatGPT later and let it summarize it for me.
Oh
It's
yeah,
good.
okay, fine. I'll
No, I,
download it. I'll
I see all
download
the
it.
thank yous. It's really heartwarming, guys. Really, I appreciate it, and really a sincere good luck on your journey, man. I love computer science. I love software engineering. It's an art as well as a science. So I just leave you with enjoy the science and enjoy the art part of it too. Ultimately, it's a source of creativity. So enjoy.
Amazing. All right. With that being said, Dustin, I'm going to say goodbyes and I'll invite our next speaker, Logan. I saw you popped in and out twice. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, hey, Logan. Logan, calling in from New York City.
Yep. I
Awesome.
guess right outside your office, so not too far.
Okay. Are you in the eighth floor or in Court Square?
Today I'm actually back in my apartment, but yeah,
Okay.
it's nearby the office building.
Awesome. Logan, we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to quickly introduce you, and then you can share a little bit like your journey and whatnot.
Okay,
So we
sounds
have
good.
we have a lot of folks here tuned in who are part of the fellowship or part of the larger Headstarter community. I want to introduce you, Logan, as a peer, right? I really look at you as like, someone who is maybe a year older than me, who's also building. I look at you as a marathon partner. We ran the New York City Marathon together. And a little bit more about your journey. You start off at JetBlue. You worked there for about 1.5 to 2 years. And then you got them as a client, which was really cool for your company. And what is your company and what do you do? So Logan's company, the way I can describe it is anyone who's ever interned or worked or maybe heard of the tools called BI analytics. Um, and Logan's company has a lot of use cases, but this is the one use case that he sells and really resonates with me, which is every single team in enterprise companies, microservices and whatnot, teams, they have their own dashboards. They have dashboards that track spending, they have dashboards that track vulnerabilities, and a lot of times two teams track the same dashboards, which costs a lot of spend. It can be hundreds of millions of dollars for the company. What Logan and his team is able to do is find out these vulnerability in other dashboards and BI analytic tools, such as Tableau, and several other tools that exist out there. He's able to find whatever redundant information is already there and delete all the stuff for them. This is one of the informations, and Logan can share more. The part about Logan I love is his journey. Logan has raised, he got his start by being part of the Skydeck program, which is a Berkeley accelerator program. And then he has raised 2.5 million in seed funding, and then I don't know if it's public, but he has raised a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
we
has raised
raised 8 million last year.
Yeah, and then he raised basically he raised two more rounds that you were not supposed to raise, right? Your seed round was done, and then two more investors just came like, hey, just take a $4 million check, just take a $5 million check. It's not even a Series A check. It's like it's a check, and when people gives you money, it's great. So we definitely want to hear from you, Logan. What is your journey? And thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for having me today. And I was listening to the end of Dustin's presentation. I was very impressed by that background, and I think it's to be a hard act to follow. But yeah, I can start with kind of how I got started in the tech entrepreneurship space, data logs, what we do, and then talk about our fundraising journey and how we built our platform product from day one to where we are today. And the kind of state we are today, just I guess starting there to paint the picture. Now we're about 25 employees globally. We've been through a handful of fundraising rounds, and we're really focused on solving this problem. As companies get more analytics, dashboards, reports, it becomes thousands of reports and near impossible to manage. So we plug in as a solution on top of tools like Power BI, Tableau, Click, Looker. There's all kinds of these BI platforms that large businesses use. And we create insights around, hey, what's duplicative? What's failing to refresh? Where is someone viewing the wrong data? And we're identifying all these different issues and servicing back to our customers and end users. And we're typically selling to large enterprises, think Fortune 1000s, or on the government side, we're doing some business on the Department of Defense and a few different agencies on the public sector as well. And I guess taking a step back from, I guess that's where we are today as a company, but kind of how I got started in this tech world, entrepreneurship. So I was working at, I guess I went to school, even taking a step farther back, at Texas A&M. So I studied industrial engineering there. I wasn't in comp sci. I was kind of jealous and wish I started in computer science, but eventually kind of found my way into the development side of the world. But at Texas A&M, I was always very interested in entrepreneurship. And so throughout college, I was playing around with different startup ideas, creating kind of little different things. I had one point an app that promoted different bar crawls, clubs, and College Station, where Texas A&M was. We ended up getting a handful of users on that, but didn't really go anywhere. My junior year, I had a different program that did legal compliance on companies that use biometrics. And again, it was a fun journey, but we made $0, zero revenue. But really taught me a lot about entrepreneurship and how to get in front of customers, talk to them, sell, understand pain points. But while I was at Texas A&M, I started off my sophomore year doing a co-op program at JetBlue. So I would spend 6 months in New York City and then 6 months back at Texas A&M for football season. And while working at JetBlue, I got really deep and exposed into the data world. So on the reporting side, data engineering side, a little bit of data science. Some projects were things like, hey, can we predict flight delays and to what accuracy? And things like that. Of course, there's endless data inputs that an airline has, but got exposed to all kinds of different data products at JetBlue. And when COVID hit, not a lot of people were flying airplanes anymore. And I guess it was about 2 years into my kind of full-time journey post-internship after I did 3 co-ops there as well. So it's about 5 years total at JetBlue. But when COVID hit, no one was flying airplanes anymore. So I ended up with a ton of free time on my hands and started hacking around kind of different problems that would help me in my day job. And what I ended up building first was kind of a cataloging product related to some of the work I was doing at JetBlue and BI. And it was, I'd say, a very, like, imagine the most basic MVP. That's what I built. And I didn't know how to develop very well. It was a combination of SQL scripts, Python, plus using a no-code development tool called Bubble. I don't even know if that's still popular anymore. But I spent about 4 months on it, was kind of proud of it. And I ended up putting it on a couple threads in the space I'm on Reddit. And it just happens to go viral. So I think we got 400 signups from different companies overnight. And when I say companies, it was like end BI users, not people with budget that could actually buy it. And I was super excited, and I quit my job at JetBlue like 2 weeks later, thinking like, I've made it. I got all these users. We're going to be a real company. Super excited. And then I'd say another 12 months or so go by, and 0 of those early users converted into any revenue. Almost all of them churned on the platform after a few days and never actually like revisited the tool. And I think we ended up with one kind of customer that was half using it. That was a friend who worked at a fisherman's alliance that wasn't anywhere near the original use case that we started with, and was plugging in data for it. But then I took that opportunity. It's like, okay, I have all these people in this analytics BI space that were interested in this problem enough to sign up for a random link on Reddit and kind of start clicking around. So I emailed and set very aggressive cold email campaigns out to all these people and started doing as many customer feedback interviews as I could. So I think we talked to almost 120 different kind of BI data analysts, chief data officers, at all different size companies, different stages. And we landed on a slightly different product, but went through a similar journey where we kind of iterated on it, improved the product a little bit, but ultimately wasn't getting a ton of traction. And I was about, I think, 18 months in, 0 salary, living in New York City, burned through my savings, where I was, I guess, day trading on Robinhood cryptos, trying to make it with kind of the YOLO stocks at that point, and surviving day by day living in New York. And we ended up, I think we had about 2 weeks left of kind of runway cash in the bank, and got into this Skydeck accelerator. And there they invest an initial $200,000. You get to go move out to Berkeley and start working with the team there to really turn your early stage startup into a venture backable company. And just to shout out to Skydeck, their applications are just opened a few days ago, but now they're taking all kind of applicants in there. But yeah, we got into Skydeck with a handful of customer conversations. At that point, we maybe had 3 or 4 customers, probably doing like 7, 8K MRR a month. But really, like, there was no true signs of product market fit, or like we were really on to something that was going to work. And then we were kind of still exploring different ideas, testing different things. And we met this large company, and they agreed to pay us more money than we made our entire history for literally just a Python script that exports data to a CSV file. And I think that at the time they paid us like $30,000 to use this very, very simple product. Had nothing else to do with that other tool I'd been working on for almost 2 years. Well, like, it had something to do with it. It was the same general space, same area. And we were able to get our first deal for that Python script that went to CSV that solved like a real enterprise problem. And I think the difference was we were tying that to value at cost savings on security side and governance in this very specific area in the data stack that basically gone unmonitored. And so we're like, okay, this is more money than we made our entire other product. Let's just stick with this and go all in here. So we got rid of that original product we built, shifted over to kind of more similar to what we're doing today on the BI ops, BI administration side. We were able to get a lot more enterprise conversations going, talking to different customers. And then we graduated the program, but we needed more cash. If we're going to build up enterprise level product, there's expectations on security, on deployment. It can't have major bugs, issues, and all kinds of expectations there. So we then went out to start fundraising in the VC market. I think we pitched 93 investors total over about 4 months. I'd say majority of them did not respond or ended up ghosting us. But we were able to meet a really amazing fund called Squadra out of the Baltimore, DC area, who decided to lead our round. And their thesis was really around what our product was doing on the enterprise side, our early customer traction. I think I had one slide during my pitching that had 10 different enterprise logos that could basically vouch for us that, hey, this is a problem. No one's solving it. And if the data logs tool at the time actually worked, we would buy it for real enterprise contract level, $100,000 to $400,000. And so we were able to close that first round of funding with Squadra. And with that, we were able to build a stronger engineering team, hire additional salespeople. I have two great co-founders working with me as well to really push our product to market. We onboarded a few more customers. And then we ended up meeting a second fund at a happy hour in San Francisco called Great Point Ventures, and started discussing, hey, this is the market we're seeing. This is the growth. This is the traction on the enterprise side and the type of customers. So it's Fortune 100s, Fortune 200s. They're doing pilots with us. We have more demand than we expected at that point. And we ended up doing a second venture round with them for an additional $5 million. And so that allowed us to grow stronger sales team, then stronger engineering team. Our product got better. But I think everything so far has been really on the enterprise side about being very target on the value that we're producing around how are we saving companies money, reducing risk, or really improving their life. And on that side, that's what we have to do to actually add that value. But yeah, that basically takes to where we are today as a company in my background.
Thank you so much, Logan. Guys, what do you guys think about Logan's background? What did you like the most about Logan? And then I'll try to take like two or three people to ask question on the voice. So like if you have a good question and someone, the comments are funny. We'll take your question. I'll ask you guys to come on voice. I see some people raise their hands and stuff. Logan, I have a challenge. I have more of a dilemma that I'm facing. We have a lot of fellows who are accepted in this program, and I told them that they have to make $1,000 in revenue or get 1,000 users for a product that they have to build. What advice do you have for them? What would you do if you're in the hot seat today with your knowledge?
Yeah, I'd say first 1,000 users, or as you say, $1,000. It's
Yeah.
not a easy feat to accomplish.
Mhm.
Like it took me 18 months to get any dollars coming in on our company. And so my advice would be really focus on a core pain point and go all out on the user discovery side before you write a line of code. Talk to 100 people who you think could be your customers. And then the other thing that someone told me, and maybe it doesn't apply to everyone, but very early on in my kind of startup entrepreneurship journey, that anything on the consumer side, most consumers are very fickle. And enterprises, if you can solve a core problem, they're easier to sell to. So I challenge people is don't just think about the consumer problems you see in your life, is think about internships, experience, enterprise, company level, and look into those, because one customer on that side could be the equivalent of 100,000 on the consumer side.
That's incredible. Logan, so just a follow-up to that question before I take someone from here is um a lot of people don't like what do you look for in a hire, right? Like right now, I know you're not more of an engineering side, but like when you hire 25 people, right? Either you or your team. What do you look for in hire? What's like three most important thing, like in 30 seconds?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess it very much depends on, of course, the role we're hiring for, what's the hot topic or challenge we're facing. But in general, on an early stage startup, like my biggest thing is I want people who don't sit around for me asking them or someone else in leadership to do something. I want people who jump in, take action, and really solve problems and make my life easier. And then on the flip side is like my expectation for my company is anyone who works there, I want them to be able to demo our product. I want to feel comfortable putting them in front of customers, whether it's going to a Fortune 500 office or meeting the chief data officer of the IRS. I want to be confident in my team that from software engineer all the way to sales side, that I can put people in front and out there. And I'd say, yeah, people who take initiative, own what they're doing, work hard, and either show that impact in a measurable way.
And do you have a rough idea of how many people you'll be hiring the next 1 year? So you're 25 right now. What's the goal for the next, like, you know?
Yeah, so I guess our company goals is we're going to be doing another funding round coming up towards the end of this year. And with that, we plan to double in size and really focus, though, on the sales and engineering and expanding our presence in the Department of Defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna take one question from here. Let's see. No, I don't want to raise my hand. Someone says, wondering how Logan measures risk in his career in his company as he was really close to failing.
Yeah, I guess in a startup, like by default, you're going to be having constant risk in terms of what's the outcome going to be, what's the likelihood of success. And from day one, I've always thought is I'm progressing and growing so much faster doing this startup than I would be at most corporate jobs. Like I think in the first kind of few months of just working, I had opportunities from different LinkedIn campaigns, meeting chief data officers at different companies. Like an example of that, of just building that network, which helps offset the risk because if the start doesn't work out, well, this networking guy is ultimately going to help you land the next job or a future job. So I sent a cold email out to every data leader who went to my university, Texas A&M, who had a chief data officer or CIO title. Well, one of the people that responded happened to be the chief data officer at Pfizer. I was actually on a panel with him last night, and he became an early advisor for our company. Would come literally lock himself in a room with us for 4 or 5 hours, helping us give feedback on the product and really talking from that CIO CDO perspective. What do you actually need at the enterprise level? And I would have, I guess, if I had not taken a risk to do a startup, I would have never had that opportunity to get in front of someone like him at that C-suite level at a major company. And I'd say as we've kind of continued on in our journey, like the two big things is just staying persistent, time and market, focusing on one core problem. Once, of course, there's kind of demonstrated that, hey, this is an actual issue. But all of that offsets the risk. So if I were to lose my job even 3 months after I started, or not lose my job, but the startup goes under, well, there's probably 1,000 roles that I'd be more qualified to do after. Oh, Yasin, you're on mute.
Logan, I really want to thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. There's tons of questions here. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get through all of them right now. But guys, if you're able to share some praise for Logan, and maybe like the greatest takeaway. What's your greatest takeaway you had? Someone said Drake or Kendrick. A very funny comment. Uh, share your greatest takeaway from Logan, so that this is something I want to share with him, the praise that's shared from the Headstarter community. So I don't want to take any more of your time, Logan. Thank you so much for, literally last minute you texted me like, hey, you want to get some food? And I was like, I'm in SF. Like, all right, send your team, and like this happened. So this is really
Yeah.
cool. And just something that I want to throw out there, Logan, kind of randomly. This weekend, we're doing a hackathon with Headstarter fellows. And so I don't know, we can maybe potentially get creative and creating like a data logs track or like a BI tool track. Any ideas that you have, I can text you afterwards. But it can be like, we can get like literally an army of 1,000 people hacking away at, whatever idea or track or some side feature that you might have.
Okay. Yeah, definitely text me. I think it's
Okay.
very interesting and we have endless engineering problems to solve.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I think every challenge under the book exists. And we're actually debating doing a hackathon with our team where we're flying everyone to Grenada, locking them in not locking them, but
Grenada in
basically
Spain,
in one a Caribbean island. One
Caribbean
of our
Island.
engineers lives out there. But yeah,
Okay.
doing a week-long hackathon for similar, just solving problems.
Okay, incredible. Incredible. Okay, Logan, with that being said, we're going to say bye. So again, guys, everyone, let's say a very nice thank you to Logan. Definitely take his notes and mention to share the takeaways. So up
Cool.
next is going to
Thank you.
be Nabil. Nabil, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, all right. Awesome. I'm going to quickly
Hi,
introduce,
guys.
and then like you can just take it away. Who's hyped to listen to Nabil? Who's hyped to listen to Nabil?
Hey, guys.
Yeah,
If
you
I
can see
don't
the
see
chat.
great comments, if I don't see a lot of hype, I'm leaving. I'm just kidding. I'm not
Yeah,
leaving.
he's gonna go back. He's gonna go back home.
I'm not going anywhere.
So
Yeah.
I actually, let me just share about like how this happened. So I just texted Nabil in the morning, or I was like, hey, look, I'm really excited for this fellowship. Thank you so much for your guidance. And then Nabil just randomly FaceTimes me. And then one thing led to another. I was like, hey, you want to come show up to our event tonight? He was like, yeah, let's do it. So who is Nabil? Nabil is someone who studied in the CUNY program, went to your college. He's always been hustling. He's always been doing things on the side. He, in his early days, worked at Bear Burgers, the restaurant chain, if you guys are familiar with that. From there, he got inspiration, amongst also probably other incidents. And you started this company called Lunchbox in Jamaica, Queens. And from there on, you grew it step by step. You raised a seed round. You raised a B, and you've raised probably a lot more since then. So your company today is how many people, Nabil? Both in US,
A little
yeah,
less than 200 people right now.
right? Literally less than 200 people. So it's been an incredible journey, incredible growth. A lot of your investors are also some of my friends that I've run marathons with, and they look up to you. You are actually a phenomenon in New York, which is why also I look up to you. And I love your company. I think your company is doing incredible things. Just a little bit of context. I'll let you explain your company and your journey. Yeah.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool. I'll jump in. This is what the company does. Think about Shopify. Shopify is for small businesses, right? Anyone can go and set up a Shopify store and go ahead and sell merch or sell things. We do the same for restaurants, and we do that for chains. We do that for chains around the country. So if you are in New York, we do Chopped and Dos Toros and Clean and 16 Handles and everyone. But if you're around the country, we do 1,200 chains like Firehouse Subs or Papa John's or others. We help chains with their app and their website, and we help them with their commerce. So you can order, imagine ordering on the Chipotle app. That's what we build for restaurants. So that's a little bit about Lunchbox, Yasin.
Yeah, that's it's incredible. Should we go Q&A style? I guess we can keep it the Q&A style.
Whatever you want, you're in charge.
Okay, so can you tell me exactly like how did Lunchbox idea come to be? And then like what are the reservations that you had in yourself? Did you have any reservation? I mean, right now you're like very much like whatever's in your mind, you do it. But back then, how I know that jump, right, to making it happen.
Yeah. Listen, 90% of me right now is like, if I'm gonna put some 80% of me right now is like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen. Everything's gonna go great. I'm amazing. This is amazing. Everything's awesome. 20% of me still is like, you don't know what you're talking about. Everyone's gonna find out you're a dumbass and you're not going to be able to do this, and just criticizing myself. Now that 80-20 split is healthy, but when I was younger, when I was everyone's age in this room, I don't know what everyone's age is in this room. Yasin, what is everyone's age?
You probably want to consider them between 20 to 25.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, 80% of my voice was critical. And 10-20 had some confidence, right? So it was the opposite. So you build confidence slowly with mentors, with having some wins, with life. But even now, I'm very critical of myself or what we're doing. But it just happens. Hemingway has a line, which is, "How did you get poor?" And the line was, "Gradually and then suddenly." And that's how you build something great, is gradually and then suddenly. And so the way I got here is, I'm an immigrant. I came to the country at 15. I grew up in Queens. My dad was a taxi driver. My mom was a worker at Dunkin'. We grew up in the projects. We were really poor, and I hated every second of it. And I really, really wanted all of that to stop. So I just was, hard worker. I did not know anything. I just wanted to work hard. I just wanted to put in hours. That was my bias at the time. Work a lot of hours, try a lot of things, increase your surface luck area, go out as much as possible, do this. And so you can go ahead and, increase, your opportunity and your chance out there, right? So at 15, when I was new in the country, I worked my way up, got a job as a busboy at 17. And from 17 to 27, I worked for a single company called Bear Burger. I worked at the first location of Bear Burger in Astoria, Queens as a busboy. I'm like, what am I doing here? And then I went from there to opening 50 restaurants in 5 countries, and I worked my way to CMO. That sounds like a great story, but it's over 10 years. So over 10 years, it's a normal story. So that's what happened there. And then 5 years ago, I was like, okay, what do I do next? Now I got some courage. I got some like, oh yeah, I think I can do more. I think I'm meant for more. You give that small voice gets more and more oxygen. You feed it, nurture it, take care of it. You realize that that's the real voice, not the negative one. And then I'm like, okay, I want to do something. But I want to do something in tech. Well, everyone's in tech. I want to do something in tech. But I was like, I don't know tech. Okay, maybe I compromise. I do food tech. I do food and tech. I know food. I'll learn tech. We work our way to the next phase. You never want your life to be so hard. Things don't have to be hard just for the sake of being hard. A company you start, a job you start is going to be hard anyway. So try to make as many things easy as possible. You want, it's for founders of companies, it's called founder market advantage. You want founder market advantage. You want to look at what you have and you're like, how do I make more of this? So we started Lunchbox. My first customer was Bear Burger, my last job. And I said, hey, Bear Burger, can I go do this? Can you sign a 99-year contract with me? So if I don't sign anyone else, at least I have you guys. They signed it. And then I signed all my friends in New York. And then I went to raise money from investors. And 73 investors this is the first time we're raising. 72 investors said no. And what happens when 72 investors say no to you is you start doubting yourself. You go ups and downs. You're like, investors down. Then you say, no, I'm down. And then you're like, this investor's shit. You're like, no, you know what? I suck. I'm not supposed to be here. I need to get a job. And you go up and down, and you do that forever. And one day, so a 73rd investor says yes. And when they say yes, you get $2 million wired. And then 20 million for our Series A. And then 50 more million for our Series B. And you get in people like the CEO of Sweet Green as an investor, and a rapper Nas as an investor. And you look back and it's a beautiful story, but I hated every second of it and I love every second of it. I'll pause there. I've said a lot, and I'll take follow-up questions.
So Nabil, I'm gonna actually go into the chat, but I want to ask you, like our users, one of the challenges they have right now, I've given to them, I've increased their standard of what makes them comfortable. I said, hey, you have 7 weeks to build your skills. You have 7 weeks to build a team. We're going to give you projects. We give you environment and deadlines. The last 2 weeks, you have to create a project that makes $1,000 in revenue or gets 1,000 users. A very core component of this would be product and user discovery, like understanding pain and whatnot. If you were to sit in the hot seat, how would you do this? What advice do you have?
If I was in their shoes?
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, you don't have to love your job, but you have to try to go ahead and make it as bearable as possible, right? So what do I mean by that? So you've seen, if I was in your shoes, I'll definitely do something with this incredible community you've built. The community you have built here is where I'm trying to find my first 1,000 customers. The community you've built here is really unique. Everyone in this room, or the likelihood of the folks in this room of being very successful, is really, really high. Because I don't know engineers who are putting themselves out there like you guys are. So you guys are a unique group of engineers, very entrepreneurial in so many ways. I'm like, all right, what do they need? What is the day-to-day product they need that I can go ahead and work on? I'll do that. I wouldn't try to go start something in AI or something in restaurant. You have to look around you and say, how do I go ahead and have easy entry to barrier? That doesn't mean you're lazy. All right. Some of us grew up really broke and poor, and all we think is working 100 hours is the only way to be rich. It's not true. My dad worked 100 hours every week and he hated it. Right. So you have to work really hard, but you have to also go ahead and try to find lazy wins, because you're going to have to make your life easier. So I'll try to look around, guys. If you have a day job somewhere else, or if you grew up playing sports or something, the answer is around you, not far away from you. So I would look around you to find your first 1,000 users.
Just to clarify what you're saying, Nabil, what you're saying is, instead of coming up with an idea, look at your last 24 hours. Look at exactly who you are, where you are, what you're interested in, where is your mind in, and that's a nice dog. And that should give you the spirit of where to get your idea, right? And then just go hard on that instead of coming up with some fancy big thing, and think like a lazy person. So instead of coming with a grandiose thing, what is something that's easy that you can talk to those type of users or customers easily. Nabila, I'm gonna ask one last question before I go into like the audience for some questions, which is,
go ahead.
you hired a lot of people now, and you've also fired a lot of people, right?
Yes.
What are high signals for you? What do you look for as like in talent? And specifically, you might even go to like technical talent or like a tech leader, what you look for in them, or in general, what do you look for in people?
By the way, this speech, I don't want to confuse people with my speech that I'm successful. I made so many fuck ups in my life where there was a day 2 years ago we had to fire 100 people because I overhired. Okay, in a single day, I had people texting me, "You ruined my life." I had people texting me, "You're a fucking asshole." I have people texting me everything. Okay, so if you're gonna be a leader, just realize the burden is all on you, and it's going to be very hard, and you are responsible for a lot of people. And something else that you need to realize is you're going to screw up. You're just going to screw up. You're just going to make mistakes. So that's my point of view as a CEO. Now let me flip that aside and put myself in your shoes and think about the next job I would join, right? If I was to join a company, I wouldn't try to oversell myself. You don't want to oversell yourself because you want them to pick you for who you are. Because you don't want to pretend 365 fucking days a year to be something you're not. There's someone out there that will like you for who you are and your skill set and what stage it's at and everything you're going to do. That happens via rejections. What do you want? You want a bunch of rejections, or you rather get a yes? Most people rather get a yes. And because you rather get a yes, you are going to be miserable for the rest of your life if you're just looking for a yes. You're looking for no's, looking for a bunch of no's so you can find the right fit. This is true for your life partner. This is true for a job. This is true for an investor. I didn't go through 72 investors because 72 investors were bad or I was bad. I went through 72 investors because the 73rd wanted me and I wanted them back. So, but that doesn't happen. When you're getting rejected, you're just so pissed. You're like, I wish just, why can't they see that I'm trying and working so hard? You cannot spend too much time on things that are not going to work. You have to spend all your time where people are opting in. So the right employer is going to opt in. They're going to give you a signal they're interested. That's where you go all in. You don't go all in on 20 employers. You go all in on the few that want you back. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and this is a continued emphasis on being transparent in yourself, is the employer needs to tell you who they are. And you need to tell the employer who you are. So ask them their core values. Ask them, do they respect work-life balance? Ask them if they like grinders. You got to look at their core values. You have to look at what they respect and value. And those companies, they'll promote it more, and those companies will be more successful. What we all do is we just lie to each other all fucking day long. I respect diversity. If I don't actually respect diversity in my recruits, I shouldn't talk about it. I should talk about meritocracy because I respect meritocracy. So employers and employees are lying all day long, and we need to just be honest. And what happens when you're honest is you just make a lot of money. You end up being very successful, but it comes with some pain, and you just have to lean in for all that pain.
Nabil, you said a lot there, guys. You guys should be writing this down. Like literally, I said this before, but like the smartest MBA candidates who work for investment banking firms, when they do their internships and even get their full-time jobs, they're not allowed to sit down in meetings. They have a pen and paper and they're told to take notes. And if they're seen not taking notes, it looks really badly on their performance. These are the smartest kids from the smartest schools at the smartest companies. If that's what they're told to do, we're expected to do the same. So we have to take notes, right? So Nabil, you said a couple of things. You said one was like ask the employer questions. Like it's not just they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. You talked about not lamenting over like rejections, right? Like don't just look like crazily for a yes, like whoever takes me in, but like be like choiceful, like think about like what you want to do, like who is going to be important to you, and also be specific on where you're going to apply. So instead of like applying, you said like tons and tons of places, just like 20 or something. Like be specific on who you want your employee to be, right?
I don't know if you should apply to a few places. I think you should apply to a lot of places.
Actually, I think so. I actually agree to that. Yeah.
I think you should apply a lot of places, but you should narrow it then very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? You should narrow down your list very quickly.
Yeah.
I think you should go, like, guys, so much of work, life, and investors are universal. So let's just talk about dating, because unfortunately for you guys, I'm not technical. I am a marketing and sales and go-to-market CEO. So all my examples will be dating examples. You don't want to, you want to go through the bar and talk to as many people as possible, right? That's fine. But you don't want to harass the girl who doesn't want to talk to you. You're a creep. That's the same thing with employers, right? So I think you do want to go ahead and, cast a wide net, but you want to go ahead and narrow the field, and you want to only talk to employers who are like, hey, we do want to talk, right? So I think that's what I would do to go ahead and find the right places. But then you have finite amount of resources. You can either spend time with 50 companies or you can spend time with 3. Now, let me tell you the types of engineers I would hire. I would hire the type of engineers who would say, hey, I have done research on your business, and this is how it personally connects with me, if it does. If it does. Otherwise, don't say that. I would say, hey, we both went to the same school. I hated my school too. I dropped out too. Can we connect? Say that if that's true. I had someone who who misspelled my name wrong, incorrectly, and sent me a message like that. I still responded. I bought their company. They now work for me, right? They had a nice exit because of that. So you just want to connect with the companies you actually want to connect with, right? You want to go ahead and look at something they wrote 8 years ago when they were in school. Maybe your manager you're applying to was in school 8 years ago. Maybe you want to do that, right? Maybe you want to add a couple of key people, the CEO and the head of people, and you want to write messages on the LinkedIn post. All of this is uncomfortable. All of this is work. And all of this is just going outside the box of how to get recruited. Unfortunately, that's what you have to do if you want to stand out in any non-engineering job. Why not in engineering jobs as well? Why should marketers and salespeople have a Twitter account or a LinkedIn account and not you guys? What's the difference? Do you guys not build a product and actually talk to more customers than we do? So I think you need to just look at these things and put yourselves out there. In the long run, even after you join the company, you're considered a thought leader. I have an intern I said no to, an engineering intern. She got a job at IBM or something. She writes an article on LinkedIn every week, a LinkedIn post every week, every Friday. Learn first week update, second week update, third week update. I regret not hiring her every day. Every week when I see it, I regret not hiring her. And I bet she gets paid more from IBM because she puts herself out there a little bit. The world is hard, guys. Get over it. It just is. Play the game. Don't fight it. Don't say it's unfair. Let's just go above and beyond. And you guys have the right profile to do it. Anyways, you guys are in this room. It's 9:26. You're in this room. So you are these people anyways. I'm not asking you to do something you guys are not comfortable with.
Nabil, 2 quick questions and we'll end the night. So one is that period of time.
His comments, by the way, are so nice. This is like the reverse Reddit or the reverse comment section of like Instagram. This is the nicest comments in the world. Like my head's, guys, I might not be able to walk tomorrow after this. That's great.
Yeah. Yesterday we had one of my friends and my roommate here in SF, Farzi. So Farzi is a big, I don't know if you've seen Life with Farzi on Instagram or TikTok. So he has a lot of followers, right? Like a couple of million. But he was blown away when he saw like the Zoom reactions.
It's great. I just started on TikTok 2 months ago.
Amazing, guys. Go follow. What's your handle? Nabil?
I'm trying to hide it because I'm so offensive on my TikTok, but I'll tell you guys.
Okay. All right.
It's called Parody under CEO. Parody underscore CEO. I started 2 months ago. I got 20 million views already, and all I'm doing is talking shit. So yeah. Don't tell anyone else. Don't tell my employees because I'm talking shit about them too.
Dang. All right. So Nabil, what I want to ask you is like some questions. So one question is like that time when you were like a busboy at Bear Burger, becoming a CMO. How did you hustle? Like, let's talk about that hustle. Like, what did that look like? Busboy to CMO.
Busboy to CMO. I think that happened. First of all, that happened slowly. Sure. And one of the things I think there's an important lesson for everyone. Yeah. I just listen. I worked hard. Everyone here worked hard. Everyone here works hard. That part is given. Right? That part is given. There's a movie in Zero Dark 30. What do you think about her? And someone said, she's smart. And then the CIA guy said, we're all fucking smart. What else? We're all hardworking guys, right? So what else can we do beyond that? You have to tell your employer what you want. You have to, if you got an internship, if you tell them, I want an internship from you, I'll work for 2 months for free. I'm not saying this is the right strategy. I'm giving you an example. But if I do a good job on the third month, I want to get hired. And I want the hiring salary to be this. You have to tell the universe and the people around you what do you want. And so they can help make that a reality. Right. So I did that at Bear Burger. I was working a lot and I said, hey, I love what I'm doing here, but can I also update the menus? I wanted to update the menus. I wanted to design the website. I want to do this. I want to do that. And eventually I'm like, okay, what are these jobs online? I was like, what is these jobs? They're like, oh, you're like a marketer. I'm like, oh, I would like to be the marketing intern. I'd like to be the marketing manager. I dropped out of school. And I was like, okay, guys, if I do a great job for a year, I'd like to be a marketing director. If I do a great job for the next 6 months and we hit these metrics, I'd like to be that. The problem with engineers is they just work hard and they work their asses off. And what employers do is do a great job of not telling engineers, hey, you know all the hard work you're doing? Bunch of that did not matter. And bunch of these things matter. So employers do a bad job communicating. So you as engineering leaders, future engineering leaders and current engineering leaders can say, hey, what is the company goal? What do I do and we're winning? And what do I do and we're not winning? I want to do things that have impact. You can ask your CEOs, you can ask your manager, you can ask whoever you want, but you have to say the word out loud. The worst they'll do is say no. You know, who gives a shit? They'll say no. Great, embarrassing. Ooh, it's a no. Collect no's, guys. Collect no's.
I love it. This is the greatest piece of advice. Everyone here, I want to like basically ask questions, state your thoughts, like do more than beyond what's asked of you, right? Like when I was at Capital One, I was crazy for this. Like I would just look at directors and like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I'm an entry-level kid, right? Entry-level kids are not even supposed to talk to their managers like that. I would talk to my managers the same way, right? Like, hey, but obviously in a respectful way. Like, hey, look, I did some research. I think here's how much we can save. Like, I would like in Zoom calls with like 40 or 50 people or a couple hundred sometimes, I would always raise my hand, right? And share my thoughts. And I think you were the exact same qualities in you. And I'm really glad that like in corporate world they call it visibility, but you know it's actually how you learn because right when you ask a question, number one you do get visible, but then you learn and they also get to learn about you and potentially like what value add you bring. I want to ask you one last question, Shariar, before we end the day, if that's okay. One last question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nabil. Shariar, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Yeah, I wanted to give it to you. And I'm gonna hype you up too, introducing you as our next thing. But Sharia, would you like to ask Nabil a question?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Make sure it's a tearjerker, inspirational, 10 out of 10 question, no pressure.
All right, Nabil.
For some context, Nabil, me and Sharia, we go back from high school. Sharia is an incredible builder. We have offices in the same city. He went to Sty and then Hunter. He has a company called Ruby Card, and they were part of the YC batch.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, Nabil. Listen, when Yassine said you are like a legend in New York, he was talking about he was completely honest. Like all my friends know you, your story. And we all wondered, Yassine kind of alluded to this, when you were working at Bear Burger, how did you know that you would one day be this entrepreneur that you are today? Because when we were looking at your journey, we were like, holy shit, bro, we're from Ozone Park, we're from Richmond Hill. There's no one like us out there. We see you, we see like Waleed from Next Health, if you're familiar with those guys. What motivated you to go get that? Is it like an internal thing, seeing your parents, like you mentioned, working 100 hours a week? What was that key motivating factor that made you want to go get it?
First of all, the legends about how great I am are underrated. I am 10 times better in person, but none of us will ever find out. So I just want to put that out there. But more importantly, I want to talk about where I thought I'd be right now. I did not think I'd be here. Okay. I did not think I'd be here. Okay. I am a son of a taxi driver that hated my father because he was a fucking, he was working really hard. I loved him, but I hated him. I say this about my family. I love my family, but I don't like them. Okay. So I didn't want to be anything like them. I still retired them. I still did what every nice Bengali kid does. I still have responsibilities, but I hated being poor. So initially what I wanted to do was just be rich. That's all I wanted. I thought all my problem would go away when I would be rich. A lot of it went away, maybe over half of it. The other half is in here, guys. The other half is a negative voice in your head that tells you you're shitty. Okay. You got to work on that too. You got to work on the mental game because that's 24/7. Right? So there's an incredible book called Don't Believe Everything You Think. Maybe we pick that up or maybe we try something like that on YouTube. But When I was 17, my only dream was to go to NYU. When I was 20, my only dream was to get paid 50. When I was 21, my only dream was to get 70. When I was 23, my only job was if I one day get 6 figures, I'll be enough and I'll be loved, and all my childhood trouble will go away. None of that is true. But slowly the muscles build, and now I want to go ahead and, take over the world one day, eat everything, kill, crush, build a bunch of companies. But that happened today. That happened slowly. I was very hard on myself. And I wish if I could go back, I'd be a little bit kinder. Because we'll get where we will get anyways. I just wish I was a little bit kinder to the 21-year-old Nabil, the 17-year-old Nabil, the 24. I go back and now we have made peace. Okay. In therapy, we've made peace. We were kinder to them because I was very harsh on them. Would I still get there if I was a little bit nicer to them? I think so. Right. So we got to find a balance. We need to figure out when to find the fire, when to figure out when to be calm. Either way, I did not think I'd be here. Okay, so I'm living my dream and I'm very appreciative. But today I won 100 times more and I will not rest until I have it.
Love it.
Nabil, thank you so much, guys. Can you guys drop in the chat some love for Nabil? Like, what was your greatest
They've been so nice.
but
It's
this
ridiculous.
Yo, how about like big W's? Like big W's. Really share.
No spams. If you do that paragraph stuff, I'm watching. Cut that shit out. No paragraph blocking, spamming, single messages only. All right, thank you guys.
Might be a good time to record this as well. So I'll just record this thing right here.
Cool.
Hey, that's a spam right there. Hey, no spam.
This
guys.
is the nicest chat in the world. Seriously, every time I'm down, guys, I'm coming in here, hang out with you guys.
Yeah. Nabil, you see the love?
I see it. The W. Someone did the W. Juan Duran. I got your number. I'll keep an eye out for you.
Yeah. I mean, this is an incredible energy. Thank you so much,
you guys.
Really appreciate you taking your time out to come here.
Thank you.
I'm hoping this is not the last time with the community, and I think everyone really loved your energy. I think some people also want to emulate that energy, whether they want to be an entrepreneur or not. I think that is one thing that is infectious. So I'm glad we can make this. Nabil, thank you so much, and with that, I'm going to say bye. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, everybody. Wishing you all the best. You guys are already ahead of the curve. Rooting for you guys. Thank you, Yasin. You built something awesome here.
Thanks, Nabil. With your help. Thanks. Take care. Sharia, how do you feel about that, man? That was crazy, no?
Guys are awesome, man. Fantastic. I love his journey. Everyone should aspire to be like Nabil. And a lot of the things that he said, he just wasn't saying it. Trust me, it takes all of this to succeed. And I hope as you guys go through this fellowship, some of what Nabil is talking about, you can see it ingrained in how Yasin has orchestrated the 7 weeks. So take it seriously and put your best effort. Because this is what makes a good software engineer, but B, just a great person, a great problem solver. You do all that, odds are you'll be successful.
Yeah, absolutely, Sharia. I introduced yourself a little bit already. Why don't we just jump into like a little bit about your background? We'll keep it brief, maybe 2-3 minutes, and then I'll ask you some questions, and then we'll have Miguel go, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the role and like what you're looking for.
Yeah,
both of you guys like side by side for that.
Awesome.
How's that sound? Okay.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll do a quick intro. Shahryar, CEO and co-founder of Ruby. Ruby is this financial operating system for e-commerce businesses. We do everything from providing banking to corporate cards, audits, some other AI automations on top. If you're familiar with products like Mercury, Brex, Ramp, we do pretty much the same thing, but for e-commerce businesses. Before this, native New Yorker, came here when I was 4 from Bangladesh. Went here for high school. I see some of you specialized high school kids here. I went to STY, went to Hunter afterwards. At first, I wanted to do the whole like doctor med school thing. I think I got like a 20 on my first test, and I was like, this is not it. Let me stick with CS. I think that's when I met Yasin at the first CUNY hackathon. And I remember talking to him, and we were making these projects, and we were like, man, this hackathon project that we're working on, it could be a company, it could be massive. It didn't go anywhere. I don't think any of us actually won. But we stayed in touch ever since then. And listen, if you want to be a good engineer, Yasin is a role model that you look up to. This guy knows the ins and outs. We stayed in touch. We interned at a lot of places. I personally interned at, what do you call it? A nonprofit, the New York City DOT. I interned at Heroku, Salesforce, the National Football League. And after that, I worked at Salesforce for about 1.5 years. One thing you'll know if you work with Yassine and myself is we are go-getters. Like, although we were some junior engineers, every time, and Yassine can share stories too, we would go to our manager like, hey, give me more, give me something more that a lead is doing. Just because the best way to learn is throwing yourself into the fire, right? Feed yourselves to the wolves. And Yassine can talk about what he did with Capital One. I worked on a pretty significant project at Salesforce. I talked to the VP and he's like, man, you guys are really doing right by the company. The company's, generating a lot of revenue. I asked him how much money is our team making, and it was a lot of money. I can't say how much, but it was in the hundreds of millions. And I was like, man, that's crazy. And I look at the money I'm making, which is still great as a software engineer, and I tell myself, this isn't it. I have to go build my own company. So I convinced one of the best technical minds ever, Miguel, to quit his job. He's a Google engineer, worked at HBO Max, as well as one of my best friends, Jordan, to quit his job, and we built Ruby. And the reason we built Ruby is because obviously broke Bengali kid, broke Filipino kid, broke Pakistani kid. We're going to college together. Tuition's got to get paid. And so we pulled together, our FAFSA refund money, and we built a few e-commerce businesses. The first few failed spectacularly. Like, it was terrible. Like, we were selling like fidget spinners. We were buying them from China, selling it, wasn't working. But all those failures helped us learn what wasn't working. And that is the key. Like, I know, Yassine, you're probably going to ask me in the future, on this call, what's the best advice I can impart on you? It is failing gracefully. You should want to fail. You should put yourselves in a position where you're so ambitious, the odds of you failing are extremely high. Because if you succeed, that's great, right? Moon, rocket ship. If you fail, though, there's so much to learn from that failure. And when we built these e-commerce businesses, we were like, all right, the product is crap. We were using some scammy manufacturer in China that just robbed us for $5,000, right? All these things helped us build better e-commerce businesses. We got some good pocket change. We, paid our tuition off. And that gave us the concept of Ruby. We were using Chase, we were using Bank of America. All these banks suck. They have all this data. They don't do anything for you. You just hold money there. And we were like, hey, what if we built a bank for e-commerce businesses, for SMBs, for online digital businesses? And we were like, let's do it. But we were some naive, seniors in college. What did we know? We didn't know any better. We called, I think, hundreds of banks to be a partner. None of them responded. The same number you call when you lose your credit card and like, hey, I lost my credit card. I got so desperate. I was calling that number to get into contact with the CIO, the CTO of the bank, right? Chief of product. And sometimes they would just hang up on me. Other times I would get a call back from their like fraud team asking. I assume they thought I was like social engineering them or something. In any case, one bank gave me the time of day. And the funny thing is, he didn't give a crap about the product we were building. He was more interested in my experience at the NFL. He was like, hey, is there actually like a referee review center there? Did you meet the commissioner? Are there players there? And 50 minutes in the 1 hour call, the guy taking notes is like, hey, you want to talk about your idea? And the guy's like, oh yeah, I have a hard cutoff. Let's sync up next week. And he gave us this like small little term sheet to sign that said Sharyar and we agree to talk for 1 more week. It's some weird bank policy. Jordan, he's busting my balls. He's like, yo, we should give up. Like, we've talked to over 100 banks. No one wants to work with us. And he's joking. He's like, at least we got a term sheet though. And so I used that and I emailed all these other banks, all these service providers that I'm like, hey, this bank gave us a term sheet. And what do you know? Those same people that never gave me a call back, ignored my emails, now they want to talk to me. Now they're taking my calls. They're super interested. Like, wow, we love the idea. We want to work with you, right? And then it came to the conversation of, hey, how much money do you have in funding? I'm like, damn, I just started my Salesforce job. I have like a 20K signing bonus. But I didn't say that. I was like, how much do you need? They're like, well, we need like 3 million. I was like, can you work with me? Can you lower that? They lowered that. We went to another provider. They lowered their requirement. We got them bidding. And eventually we got to a point where I found, a partner bank that really wanted to work with us. And I was like, look, we have a great idea. We can't, raise the 1 million that you need, but we raised some money. Give us the keys to open up bank accounts, open up, MasterCard, debit cards, whatever, and we'll make it worth your while. We did that. We got a couple hundred businesses on our like really crappy MVP. We got into Y Combinator. We did that last year in winter. We raised a seed round. And now the product has evolved really well. Hopefully one of you guys will be working with us later this year. But yeah, that's a quick intro on myself and Ruby.
Incredible, bro. Incredible. I'm gonna ask a question that I've been meaning to ask you. Um, I think you were different from like early like when did you say you wrote your first line of code? And
Yeah.
how mature of a coder were you while you were still in high school? And then
I
did you
really
pick it
hate
up?
telling the story, but
Yeah.
for you kids born in the 90s, you might be familiar with those free Xbox giveaways, free like PS4 giveaways that Taco Bell used to run. The first line of code that I ran um, was essentially submitting like thousands of entries into those raffles. Um, and I found out that you didn't actually have to buy Taco Bell to do it. You could just submit it with like zero as the code. And for whatever reason, it accepted it. I found that. And I wrote this really crappy script to automate this. And the cool thing was, I didn't win anything. Like, I don't know. I submitted like 10,000 entries and I didn't win jack. But that let me into the world of programming. And I think you've seen, I don't know if you played the game, but there's used to be this really cool game that I used to play back in the day. It's called RuneScape. I made a bot for that. My account got banned like the next week because my bot was really crap. But that's how I got the start in programming. And then in high school, I started building like Python scripts for like scraping things. Yeah.
You're a builder from the get-go. Sharia, we'll talk a little bit about that role and bring out Miguel to the panel. But when it comes to, I've given people like a standard, a very high standard, which is like, can you create a product that can get 1,000 users or generate $1,000 in revenue? Maybe generating $1,000 in revenue might be easier because, $100 customers or $1,000 customer, or whatever other permutation. How would you advise someone can go about this, right? For example, other day I met Ryan Hoover, the founder of Product Hunt. He said, get your first paying customer as soon as possible. Don't focus on the code. Don't focus. Just send them a Stripe link. If it solves a problem, tell them the solution is coming in 1 month. That's how you can make the money. Some people say like, just don't code, talk to as much users as possible. You're the builder from RuneScape to all this. How would you kind of connect?
100%. I'll give you the playbook that we use for Ruby. Listen, when we launched our company, it was just it was a really bad landing page, and we were asking people to put in tens of thousands of dollars in our bank account, like our Ruby bank account. And a lot of people like this one person I remember vividly responded back to my email saying, "Please take me off your emailing list, or I will report you to the FBI." And I totally understood that, right? Like I'm some random guy asking to deposit money in this bank account. What we did instead is we went on Reddit, we went on Facebook, and we went on these groups that are very specific to e-commerce. So it's like, like Etsy sellers, Walmart sellers, Amazon sellers. And we started talking to these people when somebody would have a problem because we are e-commerce sellers ourselves. Hey, this one thing happened. I'm getting too many chargebacks. What did you guys do? I'd go in, I'd comment. I was very active in these communities to a point where people started recognizing my replies. And so once I got some people recognizing me, I DM'd them and I said, "Hey, I'm actually working on this thing. Could you try it out?" We built a wait list like that. And if Yassine is telling you, "Hey, you have 2 weeks to make $1,000 or 1,000 users," that is the same playbook that you run. Whatever product you build, if it's something for like salon owners, if it's something for home care owners, I guarantee you there is some niche Facebook group in there with like 3,000 really dedicated salon owners just sharing tips and tricks. And if you came to them and said you solved the problem, they would most definitely give you money and try it out. And the secret is a lot of these niche SaaS products start exactly that same way. And I think Logan was saying the same thing. He posted something on Reddit and had like 400 people sign up for his product. This is quite literally how you bootstrap a product.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the advice is right on. Do you guys agree with Shaya, what he said? Do you guys agree? I mean, it's great that there's a personal touch to it, right? I think niches and riches and niches. Find your Reddit community. Find your. I would say, like the initial thing that a lot of CS kids think about is, "Oh, I'll create a CS product," which is great. You can do that, but think about something very specific. And going back to what Nabil said, think about your own life. What happened in the last 24 hours? Like, where were you physically? Where were you mentally? And what are things that you do, right? And what are some things some efficiencies you can bring? and be very specific. Be very specific about the Discord. Like some people like sneakers, some people like fashion, some people like food, some people like sports, some people like banking, or some people like find problems in these different areas, cars, and et cetera, et cetera. So find that. On Shire, let's kind of like bring on Miguel to the table here. So let him do a quick intro, and then we'll put you guys side by side. We'll talk about the Ruby partnership. Miguel, can you hear me, Miguel? Just made you panelist. Hey, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, long time no see.
Yep. How's it going,
Yeah.
everybody?
So let me describe me and Miguel's interactions. It'll be like I'll go dap up Shara, like, yo, Miguel, hey, what's up? Or we'll just run into each other at lunch and in the elevator, whatnot, in our building. But Miguel, I have a very intimate moment that we shared together, right? In 2019, and let me give you a little story. I have a friend, his name is Hilal. Actually, I started with him initially in the early days with him. This guy went to high school together, and when I was in college, I would convince him like, hey, can you please join me in computer science? He wanted to be an eye doctor and then a mechanical engineer. And he said no, no, no. And then after his freshman year, he realized all the seniors in his school got good jobs, the ones that did computer science or the ones that pursued software engineering. And then he made the switch. Then together we went to Hack NYU together. He was an NYU student, went to Hack NYU together, and there was so many people, and we actually we didn't win, right? And a year later, a week before COVID, it was like what, February or March? It was March 4th, I think, right?
Yeah.
7. A week before COVID, we show up at NYU Hacks, and there are 4 tracks, right? And the context here is in between these 4 tracks, me and Hell has won like 6 or 7 hackathons in a row together, right? He has come to CS. I kind of taught him like how to do the hackathon stuff, and we're having a lot of fun. Comeback time in NYU. Miguel and I go head to head, NYU. But the good thing is you won first place, I won first place, right? But there were different tracks. It was really cool. I still think we had the cooler app. And if you remember, I made a blunder. I exposed my credit card information in front of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
It was
In the
stupid.
demo, right?
I was like, yeah, in the demo of the hackathon. Anyways, Miguel, since then you've worked at a variety of companies. Was it HBO or Warner Brothers? That you had worked there, and then from there you got a job at Google. Always been buddies with Sharia at Hunter, did hackathons together, and then you built Ruby. And Sharia praises you a lot, so I know you're good. I know Sharia is good. I know you're good too. So love to hear from you, your journey. Like, tell me the ugly side. Just jump into it. Talk about the insecurities. Talk about like the hiccups, and then talk about Ruby.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question. I could just start by saying like, I also grew up in Queens. I went to Hunter with Shariar. So I kind of have that like same CUNY experience of like just going in and like not really knowing what to do. There's not as much like resources that were like shown on like what to do. And funny enough, like going into Hunter, I actually tried doing nursing first, and then like because it's Hunter and like that actually didn't really work out. And I eventually like saw that I was like really interested in TS, and that was like when I started writing my first lines of code. But funny enough, I go into Hunter, and like the first class is always just like theories, like discrete math, and like it's really hard. And I actually didn't know that all this stuff wasn't like as useful. And I was part of the Hunter Scholars program, and then I got into CUNY 2X, and that was kind of like my first internship at Animoto. So it started out with some startup experience, then eventually I got into Chase Code for Good. So I think a big part of it really was the hackathons. I know I've seen you in so many hackathons, Hack NYU, Hack NY. Like I think that's kind of like where my passion gets kind of like ignited. Like I've always like tried to make my own like side project. I remember like going to interviews. I would always bring up like I made a Chrome extension that would basically show your professors like rate my professor profile like within CUNY first. Like I've always like was hacking around different things. I was always kind of just like looking up different documentation in my free time. You know, I've always been a guy who's like really into like React or like React Native. You know, honestly, I'm that guy who like argues with you about like which is like the best JavaScript framework. And which is really funny because like Shahryar is really that type of guy that's just like, yo, you just got to get the work done. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to save like 10 different renders? Like, why are you like going down this rabbit hole and finding out like what is the best like React rendering library? And you know that is a really great point. And I think that that's what's really important to highlight too, because there's like a lot of different like balance of like thinking and like you know, I like to optimize for like a lot of like our infrastructure and our stack, and at the same time, you know, I have co-founders that thankfully keep me grounded, and um yeah, so that's kind of like uh kind of some of my background. So yeah, after those internships, I eventually went to Google, and I worked for the Golang team and the classroom team. So I had fortunately I had some experience working on stuff that wasn't web development, and that was actually really fun too. It was a really great experience. And then eventually Shahryar, me, Shahryar, and Jordan, he kind of mentioned it. We were working on e-commerce stores on the side. Um, you know, Shahryar got like this banking partnership, and then he really needed a tech guy, and you know, we were always friends. So that's kind of when he hit me up, and then he kind of convinced me to just quit my job. And you know, the rest is kind of history. But yeah, I guess I can just like kind of pause there or like take questions from anybody or um
Yeah, so there is some questions here in the chat. Let's just do like two or three and then let's jump into Ruby.
yeah.
So let's see. Do you prefer backend or front end engineering?
Yeah, I think up to this point I'm like so full stack because I've had the opportunity to work with both, and I think I still like front end the most. I know it's like really complicated, but I think I just like nerd out a lot about like UI, um and like I feel like it's just kind of more my expertise, but definitely I at this point I'm kind of just like a full stack guy in
Yeah, I
general.
love it. You know, I'm a personal believer that software engineers should know everything.
Hmm.
Front end, back end, AWS, APIs, cloud,
Yep,
knowing how to use the AI stack, so agents, like embedding libraries. Like this is very new right now, like fine tuning, Taylor, all that stuff. And then on
exactly.
top of that, traditional machine learning. So everyone should know everything, right? Like while you're in college, before your entry level interviews, like bits and pieces, like you've done like several projects in that, so that when you're in the role, you're already at like kind of like a mature level. And then you can decide like where you want to double down on. And especially if you're a founder like you are, you got to be trick of all
You
trades.
kind of have to.
You have to, right? Cool. So can I bring on Shire and you guys are side by side? And guys, can we
Yep.
have some praise for both these guys? Like, yo, that was some good, like good intros, right? Like some good backgrounds. There goes the W's. You guys see the W's?
Your community is cracked, man.
Yeah, it is, dude. You know, yesterday Farzi came. Farzi, you know, Life with
Yeah,
Farzi.
yeah, I know. He's hilarious.
Bro, this guy has all the followers in the world, right? But he was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." So, I love the W's. You know, they don't like share the W's. They don't go unnoticed. So, I want to have you guys feel part of the community. Shahryar, like this is happening. Like, are we doing a partnership? Like, what's going
Yeah.
on?
Oh,
What's
wait.
up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're in the same office. Listen, if you work at a startup, you're going to be working at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. It's just how the thing is how it works.
Yeah,
Wait, I think you're still. Wait,
this
no.
sound has to go on. Maybe his sound got to go on.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, ever since I met Yassine at that CUNY hackathon, I was like, dude, we're gonna work together on something, whether it's together or indirectly. So I'm really happy we got a chance to do this. I know Yassine and I, we've been talking about a pipeline for Headstarters to an internship thing for a while. I'm glad Yassine didn't mention it before, just because, we wanted to make sure the people that really believed in the fellowship and this program are the ones that benefit from it. So we waited to announce it now. But yeah, he already posted about it. I have a big belief that software engineering, how someone becomes a software engineer, is going to change. It's not going to be the 4-year curriculum. It may not be boot camps. What Yassine is doing here, which is like a coordinated, granular fellowship structure is what is going to make a great engineer. It touches on hard skills, it touches on soft skills. And I wanted to put my money where my mouth is with my friend and say, hey, look, I trust you. I trust the vision you're making. And I want to hire some of your fellows at the end of this fellowship. There's not going to be an interview. There's no leak code. There's no algorithms. I'm not going to ask you the runtime of, I don't know. I haven't had to use anything like that really in a long time. There's no take-home project. I will literally give some of your fellows guaranteed internship at the end. So with that in mind, I know some of you guys have asking like, what is a top fellow? What does it look like? Look, it's not somebody who knows the most backend, the most algorithms, because Yassine and I, we were at a point where we didn't know anything, right? Somebody had to give us a chance to work at somewhere to earn our stripes. And we want to give that back. So it is literally any one of you, whether you are just starting out or you know everything, it's your progression. How in tune you are with the community. Are you taking in everything that Yassine is saying? Are you working with a team? Are you reaching out to people to make a project? Now, one thing that we are going to look deeply at is a hackathon. This week is the first one, but in a couple of weeks will be a dedicated Ruby one. That is something that will be similar to the type of work you will do. That project will have a big standing on who we're looking at, who we're keeping a close eye on. That's hard skills, but hard skills are a given. You are expected to know all of this. You're expected to know a database, a backend, a front end framework. The other half of this is soft skills. I'm going to be talking with Yassine to see, hey, who's interacting with Headstarters, in your Reddits, in your Discords. But the other half is soft skills with Ruby. I hate to give away some of your alpha to some of the Headstarter fellows here, but I think 100 of you have already connected with me on LinkedIn and messaged me, letting me know you want to work here, introducing yourself. And that is how you show soft skills, persistence, right? There are people out there who will send you an email, and if you reply back instantly, they're going to think to themselves, wow, Yassine is great. It is 10 p.m. and he just replied back to me. There are people who will wait until 8 a.m. to reply. Things like that matter, right? Reaching out to us, messaging us. We may not see your message, but being persistent. And look, I know there's Yassine, 30,000 of you guys or 15,000, something crazy like that.
That's
and we are hiring 2 people, like guaranteed, no interview, nothing. But we are going to interview dozens of other people. That one will be external as well. So you'll be competing with people that are externally applying. But one thing that I want to tell you guys is take advantage of every opportunity you have. Yassine is building this program. You're not here just for the fellowship. You get to know Yassine, get to know Faizan, get to know us, because Miguel, Jordan, we're in the Y Combinator community. There are thousands of companies. There are thousands of jobs, right? Somebody who has messaged me on LinkedIn made a genuine effort to get to know me or ask me for advice, right? If we have a genuine connection and a few months down the line, even if we don't work together, you hit me up and you say, hey, I need an intro to this company at YC. I am more than happy to provide that intro and provide a snippet. Like, this guy, he is a great engineer. He reached out. We were considering him for an internship, but it didn't work out. But I would hire him the next chance I get. Those intros go much further than just applying on a job portal. And it could be anyone. We've met the founders of some of the largest companies at YC, and we're also close friends with the companies that are on the come up. So when you meet someone, make a genuine connection. You don't know when they'll be helpful. And like Nabil was saying, 72 people rejected him. 1 person believed in him. And that person is very happy because Lunchbox is a great company. He's going to make a crap ton of money. And it goes to show, make a genuine connection, believe in someone, they'll help you out. So keep that in mind. Stay engaged with the Headstarter, stay engaged with us, and do your work, because hard skills, they're not, there's no leg up. You're expected to do this. You're expected to know all of this. But yeah, I'm really happy to have some of the fellows working with us later this year. And one thing I'll add is, this is a great opportunity. And I'm biased, but I didn't know a thing about fintech before I started this at all. And now I can look at a fintech company and almost know exactly how they operate. I want you guys to be really engaged with Headstarter because it gives you an opportunity to work early stage at a fintech. If you work at Mercury, Brex Ramp, there's probably not a chance you'll be very close to the payment rails. Maybe, right? But with us, you are literally moving money, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time. You are processing payments with MasterCard, networks. There's a lot of knowledge that you can learn, and it's going to really accelerate your career. So would love to have some of you guys there.
I just want to say a few quick things.
Oh, you're
And
muted.
Miguel can maybe share a little bit about tech stack, and then we'll take
You're muted, Yassine.
question. I'm muted. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think you guys can, right? So I just want to say a few quick things. So one is, guys, I have a couple of jobs in this fellowship, right? My one job is to get. I asked you guys a question yesterday. You'd rather me have a nice and neat fellowship or find more people who are looking to hire from Headstarter? You guys all had one resounding answer, which was, you guys remember? Would you rather want to have a really nice program like school, or would you have like, a little bit disorganized fellowship, but then like get as many companies as possible? Right? All right. So that's like everyone, like the reason why I started Headstarter is to help you when they get that software engineering job. We do that through like helping finding great people like Sharia and Miguel, hearing their journeys. And now these are actual software engineers who are creating jobs, right? That's incredible. And so whoever does end up hiring from them might even have a shot at full time for them like one day. Like who knows? Like whether it's immediately or down the line as they grow as a company. So this is incredible. Another thing Sharia had said is he has a lot of people that he knows, right? From the Y Combinator are hiring. And just to give a context of what Y Combinator is, because I think many of you may or may not know, let me just share a little bit. Every year, and correct me if I'm wrong, about like 20,000 every 2 times a year, about 20,000 people like apply to Y Combinator. And then 240 get in. Sorry, is the math over there correct?
Yeah, about 200 to 250. Yeah.
Yeah, 250, 240 get in. Of the 240 get in, I believe about 140 are in the US. Now, most of these companies, a good amount of these companies, they complete this 3-month program, raising a couple $1 million, anywhere between like, 500,000 to like $5 million, right? And I know a ton of my friends who got into the program or who were part of it, or we became customers of Y Combinator programs. When they raise this money, most of the time they're hiring software engineers, like immediately. And what Shari is saying that he doesn't just know his peers who graduate with him. He knows companies who are much, much more mature. Like maybe anywhere between like knowing 10 Nabils to people on the path to becoming a Nabil. And he knows them. And so this is a great way for him to get signal like, hey, are the people at Headstarter serious? Are the people like who are genuine connection? Whether you make the job at Ruby or not, there's a lot of opportunity here for everyone. And then lastly, I just want to share another thing, which is the purpose of Headstarter here today isn't to give you a job right away. That's a bonus. That's a kind of added cherry on the top, right? It actually be very specific. We're not looking for the best performer of Headstarter. We're looking for someone, of course, who does the bare minimum, who works hard, as Nabil was saying, but also has some very specific tech skills that they're looking for, right? Ideally, like, you want to be someone who was better than Shahryar was, right? When he was your age, right? Or if you're younger than him. We're the person who they would likely hire already has the skills to be hired as so-and-so company. We just have to do the hard work of finding that person. Now that can change, maybe through grit, maybe through hackathon tracks, or maybe visibility. That may change. But I'll tell you from our end, our goal is to help you land a job. One of my responsibilities as Headstarter is to find more Sharia. As another responsibility is to find a big fat brick and throw it at your face. Right. So the more bricks I can hit with you, right, you'll be more resilient when you go into the job market. And so today, what I say that to is the main purpose of Headstarter is when you complete Headstarter and you build a project and you give your best to get 1,000 users, you get the 1,000 users, or you make the $1,000, you'll be much more ready for the job market compared to everyone else. You'll be landing interviews compared to everyone else, right? And you've already experienced rejection. Whether you get Sharyars or several other companies, if you work with them, you've already experienced rejection. So now you have scar tissue, right? And so what do you learn from top tier founders like Nabil? Rejection is key. Don't look for the yes, just collect no's, right? That's what he said, collect no's. So today is going to be kind of like that frame set, and keep trying, give your best to get into Shari's company. But yeah, Shari, you're going to say something, and then
I just want to say, I mentioned this early on, and you'll speak to a lot of the founders. Like, you just have to get lucky. Like, luck plays such a huge role in success, but you have to give your chance of self to get lucky. I know people are saying here, hey, there's like a 0.001% chance of getting this internship. There's 15,000 people. There's 2 of them. What I want to let you know is there's also 100 of you guys who have DM'd me or Miguel on LinkedIn, and we have an Excel sheet of all 100 of you guys that we're tracking. Every time you submit a project, you 100 are the first people that we're looking to on that sheet. So there are things to give you an edge. You just have to go and take it, right? If you're sitting here and you're not engaging with your scene, you're not engaging with the Reddit, if you're not engaging with us, how can we, obviously we'll look at everyone, but how can we really give you that, microscope view that we need to hire you guys? So give yourself the best chance of doing something. And the other thing is, yes, rejection is key, man. I did an internship, and I asked my manager, I was like, you do the dance, right, to get a return offer. He's like, hey, what can I improve on? What am I doing well? And the first thing he says is, Sharia, like, you're really good at failing. And I thought that was a backhanded compliment at first, but then he explained, he was like, look, failing is one thing, right? You could, like, be on the floor getting kicked down, whatever, but you have to keep getting back up and learn from that failure. And so, like Yassine was saying, even if we don't hire you, or one of the other people don't hire you, I'm a connection now. Yassine is a connection now. In 4 months, 6 months, when you're applying for full-time jobs and you see something that has a Y Combinator badge, right? You can think of me and say, hey, is Sharia willing to go and recommend me to the founder? And so that's learning from failure, right? And failure is a good thing. So keep that in mind, guys. This is a great opportunity. And one thing is, this is the first time Yassine is doing this fellowship in the structure. You want to be on a boat when tides are rising. In the future, Yassine might have crazier partners. He'll partner with a lot more people, guaranteed. And I bet you, if one of you guys from the first batch hit him up and say, hey, Yassine, I was part of the inaugural, the first batch of Headstarter fellows. I would really love to work at Intel and NVIDIA, whatever crazy company Yassine is going to bring on. I guarantee you he'd be more than happy to do it. But what's he going to look at first? How engaged was he with the fellowship, right? If he sees you have 0 submissions, your project was like, half-assed, he's not going to be inclined to do it. That's just the nature of it. An intro or referral is a huge thing in this space. So be engaged, do the best that you can. And that's it. Yeah.
100%. Now that we've shared this, let's go to nitty-gritty of what we're looking for. So number one thing is all the stuff on the Headstarter platform, please try to do them. Take it religiously, right? That is going to show you great. Is going to show you everyone's going to struggle, right? Consistency. So those are things, the project specifically, go into a lot of detail about the projects, right? Especially the upcoming weeks. Make sure the project is done well, because we're collecting all the data. The second thing is team collaboration. Make sure that your teammates are proud of you. You're not like an asshole by any means, right? That is, like, every week we're going to ask for team feedback, right? Anonymously, please rate your 3 teammate feedback. Also, peer feedback. Go on Reddit. Give each other like comments. Like, hey, I like your post. On Discord, be helpful. Find out who on Discord you go to, like who needs help. Or like everything we're tracking, right? And then also for the mock interview and stuff, like, give your best. We're not going to be looking directly at that, if you especially because this is not a mock interview, accelerator. This is a project accelerator, right? So use this as a time to do all that. And of course, the networking that Sharia was sharing. We're going to do in-person events. Maybe volunteer to be helpful, right? So like all those things will give you rewards either right directly in the fellowship or definitely after, right? But you'll definitely be in the up and up. So again, go through all our stuff, on Reddit, on Discord, on in-person, and great things will happen. So Miguel, do you want to just quickly share like 1-2 minutes about like what is the role that you're looking for? Like what is the future you're trying to build, perhaps? Or that may be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I could wait. Do you want to say a few things first?
Oh yeah, I can talk about it. I think we're having some weird audio issue, but yeah, Miguel. So basically, there is one key component. We're gonna have like a Ruby structured hackathon. We're gonna give a track on that. It's not the one this weekend. It'll be one I think 2 weeks later. It'll be more, it's somewhat tied to some of the work you'd be doing. But in terms of the people that we're looking for, we really want strong. Full stack is great, but really want strong backend engineers. You should know how to use a database. You should know backend language, whether it be like Node.js or TypeScript. If you know Java, C#, whatever, it's fine. Like we're not hiring a great Node.js expert. We're hiring good problem solvers. So at a minimum, if you know a backend technology, if you know how to use a relational database, that's it. And then after that, it's like good problem solvers. We'll see what your project is. We'll see how is it if Yassine says, hey, make a to-do app, is it just a bare bones to-do app, or is there some complexity to it? Did you go out of your way to make it more advanced than it needed to be, right? Because when you're competing with 15,000 other people, these are the metrics that we have to go over. So again, backend language doesn't matter what, you can learn on the job, but we personally use Node.js. We use Postgres as our database. We use Redis. That's pretty much it. No backend technologies. You don't have to be great at front end, honestly. Like I think both me and Yassine were underselling Miguel, even with the high praise. This guy will teach you how to be a good front-end engineer, even if you think you're the best. So keep that in mind. Whatever projects you do, make sure the back end is good. Not just for us, but for yourself, because with the market how it is, back end engineers, it's one of the best ways to get hired. Yeah. Oh, and another thing is one quick thing I want to add is we're not just like a traditional, bank like a Chase, whatever. We have a lot of software and automations in place. So we will also be looking for like outliers that know how to use like vector databases, RAG technology. So if you know something like that, it really, it really, what do you call it? Brightens up your projects to us. One thing I want to add, there's a lot of new people here. Just because I'm saying, RAG, Pinecone, Node.js, relational database, it doesn't mean you won't have a chance at like being hired, whether it's like directly with the instant offer or like indirectly. Like what I said earlier was I want the best problem solvers because I don't care what language you know, what you do, all of that translates over. If I give you this unscoped project, can you go and solve it? So somebody who doesn't know, who's just getting started, you have just as high of a chance as the person who's sitting there thinking to myself, man, I know how to use a Pinecone DB, I know RAG, I know all this stuff. Everyone gets the same amount of opportunities. But it's up to you if you want to go and get it. Just like Nabil said, go and get it because that's the only way you'll succeed in life. Yassine and I, we can't, we can do our best, but it's up to you to to get yourself a chance to get lucky.
Absolutely. So that's great to share some context about like the technology in the forefront, like what you're looking at. A lot of you guys might not know these technologies, but in the upcoming weeks, we're going to going to deep dive everything from vectors to front end, back end, APIs, cloud. So this is also a learning opportunity. I want to ask you guys, what questions do you have for Miguel or Shara? Please drop in the chat or in the Q&A. So Miguel and Shara, you guys can also see some of these questions. You have to reply right away. Yeah, let me go
Yeah, let me know what questions you have, regular software engineering career-wise, like Ruby specific.
I think one thing we can do is you don't have to answer all of them, Shahryar,
Yeah.
but maybe in general, I could create like a channel on Discord, like
Yeah.
Headstarter X Ruby like channel, and like people can ask some questions regarding that.
Yeah. Do that. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of great questions. Definitely want to dedicate time to the fellows.
Yeah, and also I don't want to take too much of your time, so you don't have to like respond to all of them. And especially hackathon will be helpful. I think will be helpful.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll just answer some here.
Sure.
Quick one. Do you just hire from the hackathon or is it overall? It's definitely overall, but I will say the hackathon that we do is going to be weighed heavily because that's the one that is most closely tied to what we do. But it is an overall thing. So if you just do that one hackathon and I ask Yassine, I'm like, hey, I really want, this one guy, and Yassine comes back and tells me, well, this guy stopped after like week 3. We likely won't proceed with that. How important is domain knowledge when it comes to hiring for Ruby? Zilch. You don't need to know anything about fintech, ledgers, banking, issuing, processing. Why? Because we didn't know any of that when we started. You will learn our tech stack. You'll learn how we operate on the job. And like working on a banking product is very difficult. There's a lot of things you have to keep in mind. You have to literally like we have to watch out to make sure there's no like people on the FBI list using our banking product. There's like a whole service dedicated to that. So there's so many things that we didn't know ourselves that we built, we learned on the job, and you'll get the same opportunity to do so. How did you go from idea to first user? I think I mentioned this, but we went on Facebook groups. I started DMing a lot of people. I was contributing, helping them out, and they gave us a chance. Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. What do you think the best way to have an effective team? Yeah. The best way is to be blunt and honest to each other, and be okay with confrontation. If someone comes to you, obviously be nice to people. Don't be a jerk. But for me personally, I love people that tell me, hey, Shari, that idea sucks. To some other people, they might think of that, as not nice, but it is what it is. Be honest with your teammates. If you want to say it in a nicer way, go ahead. Because the worst thing you could do is waste the 7 weeks you have here working on like a nothing. Something that's really easy to do that you're just doing to feel good about yourself. Be honest. Be very, very like over communicating is better than under communicating. If you think someone could be doing more or someone could improve, let them know. But at the same time, if there's if someone's doing something really well, let them know they're doing it. Yassine, Faizan, they are putting these talks together, and you do not know how much work it is to get people to come here to dedicate their time. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. So you guys should definitely like get some W's in the chat for Yassine and Faizan. There, you guys are in a very lucky spot. Some other question. How did you determine analytics? So we do e-commerce ourselves. We know what analytics are important to us, but most importantly, talk to your users. We went to our users and we asked them, what do you want? Building software is very easy, right? Selling it is hard, but you can make it easier on yourself if you talk to your user. If Miguel says, hey, I want a dashboard that has X, Y, and Z, I'll go back and I say, what are you willing to pay? They'll say, I'll pay $20 a month. And I'll say, okay, I'll build it. Miguel pays me $20 a month. If I tell Miguel, what do you pay? And he says 0, I probably won't build it.
I see a good question. It says, Miguel, in your honest opinion, how does someone get insanely good at front end? Was the best way to really drill something in your head and effectively use it and moving forward on any project? I think as front end developers, like we are surrounded by all the like million wrappers in the world. Like there's a wrapper for Fetch, there's a wrapper for a lot of like different libraries. There's ShadCN, which is a wrapper for Radix, which is a wrapper for all this stuff. I think a good start would be to actually like look, if you're really interested, look in one of the libraries and actually like look into the code base and try to understand kind of like the primitives or the fundamentals. And then like once you like kind of like recreate it on your own, that's actually a really good practice too. Like try to make the library yourself, except use what you know and see how far you can get with that. And then you would actually learn like a really good amount if you're interested. So I'd say that's a really good strategy. Let's see, is there other questions?
Somebody said, what does a week look like? I will treat our interns exactly how I like to be treated when I do internships. I will throw you into the fire, so to speak. I will tell you, here's our GitHub. Here's our other GitHubs for our microservices. And here's a summary of what we do and what's important. You will be drowning. You will be going through the code base. And listen, I don't know a single thing that's happening in that front end repo that Miguel has. I don't want to touch it. That's probably going to be the worst part. But we will give you a task and you will really own it. Like you're not going to work on some random like side project. We will give you a task for you to do, and you're going to own it from A all the way to Z. And so it's going to be up to you to learn. Obviously, we'll do stand-ups and all that. We'll teach you when you have questions, but it will teach you how to work at, like a software company. There's no hand-holding. It is up to you to teach yourself, learn, struggle, because if you don't struggle, you won't improve. So the first week is literally access the repos. Here's some like a one pager on what we do. Here's your task. Go do it. Let's see. How did you learn the legal guidelines for issuing cards to businesses? Well, that's a great question. Jordan's not here, but he handles compliance for us. He worked at Capital One, so there were some compliance things that he was around. But a lot of it was learning on the job, reading, what do you call it? A lot of the laws that happen. Like every time we send an email, you have to have like an unsubscribe link, things like that. Literally, we taught ourselves everything we know about fintech, from the banking products, cards, to compliance, what we have to do when we monitor, transactions for fraud, right? Is someone stealing somebody else's identity? How do we identify that? What do we do if that happens? All of these things that we taught ourselves. We also have a great chief compliance officer in New Jersey. He's a great guy. He like knows everything. So we hired him, and he's very helpful with that. Among the problems that you solve, what kind of problems do you prioritize first at Ruby? It's the one that's going to make us money. In a startup, the day you die is the day you run out of money. So what we focus on is what will generate revenue for our customers and in turn us. We want to make sure our customers succeed. We're a banking product. If our customers fail, we fail as a business. So how can we generate the most money for our customers, right? With analytics, we help them make smarter decisions so they can make more money or decrease spend somewhere. If they're successful, we're successful. So what makes our customers money and what would generate revenue for us? Trust me, there have been a lot of times where we're in like a stand-up and we're like, man, this new like API came out from OpenAI. Can we use it somehow? And we have to like stop ourselves and be like, no, it's not going to make anyone money. We're going to lose money doing this. So let's not do it. I think that was most of the questions. But yeah, Yassine, let's get something happening in the Slack channel, and more than happy to answer all your questions there. Also, I'm answering questions on like LinkedIn, my Twitter if you guys use Twitter. But if I don't see it, please just ping me. No worries. You're not pestering me.
And Shara, you know what? I just thought about this a little bit, but instead of asking random questions, we can already look at the date, like the quality of submissions from week 1 and week 2 and the hackathons and the team collaboration stuff. We can already identify some people, and so then the people whose questions you answer can be also more curated.
Yeah,
Save your time, save their time as well.
Yeah, and I'm answering some questions on LinkedIn right now. Anywhere you guys can ask, go and ask, right?
Shoot your shot, brother.
Yeah, shoot your shot. If you don't answer, you're not gonna get a question. You're not gonna answer, and I'm not gonna get to know you. Like somebody on LinkedIn asked like this great question I never thought of, and it's great. Like I didn't think about this, and I've been working on this for like over a year. So just do it, like wherever. Yeah.
So, and one thing I'll ask, at least Sharia and Miguel, maybe as like a additional thing, is like feel free to post often on LinkedIn, maybe once a day or so, like at least once a week. Once a day would be nice. Like just share what you guys are doing so people can follow your journey, right? And then so the questions they ask can also be like more educated. Instead of course, no one should be like, "Hey Sharia, hire me right now," or "Hey Sharia, what's tech stack you?" So like they have some context, like, oh look, I looked at Ruby, I saw Sharia was going through this like certain situation, or they have this certain journey, like in the up and up, and like the question can be more educated to role or you. Right?
Yeah, don't take social media advice from me. Yassine is great with like LinkedIn, all that stuff. We're like for us, we what do you call it? Yeah, LinkedIn is still the best place to reach out to me because unlike Yassine, I'm not daunted with like a bunch of people commenting like, "Hey, what's happening with Headstarter?" So yeah, definitely will post if you see something there that seems relevant. Like we are going to be posting some product updates. It's a great idea. Yassine,
that's great.
Yeah, we're gonna post some product updates. You'll get to know, and honestly, the people we hire will probably work on one of these products. Comment on it, what you're curious about. Yeah, that'd be great.
And may I just throw this out there, Sharia?
Yeah.
One of the things we've talked about is you have a ton of backlog, and you're potentially also seeing like some side projects or projects on its own that a potential intern can take ownership of. So it's like its own domain, maybe like a Chrome extension. I don't know what it is, the equivalent of like maybe its own full stack solution, like API microservice stack to front end stack that someone can build the whole thing, right? Like on their own, while you guys build your own thing and they do their thing as an intern. So there's a lot of like interesting stuff here. And I know that the call is going off sort of long, so I want to end it here. Sharia, any final thoughts, or I think we're good for today?
Yeah, I think we're good. Listen, I don't want to keep beating this, guys, but this is a great opportunity. Take it seriously. Because it will pay dividends in your career. You will look back when all of you guys are either starting at your own company, when you're like the next Nabil, you'll be thinking like, man, I'm only here because I took that first step. So keep that in mind. This is a great opportunity for you. And listen, I have no dog in the game. Like I am not an investor in Headstarter. Like Yassine, like it's just my good friend from a long time. And like, although I want him to succeed, and that's like my bias, I wish I had this when I was coming up as an engineer, dude. Because Yassine and we had to fight like dogs to get our first internship.
From CUNY, bro. From CUNY.
We're from CUNY. Dude, we went to a school, and when we were applying for internships, when we used to apply, when I asked for a college, we had to
never
click
there.
other.
It was never there.
We had to click other and type in Queens College, Hunter College, CUNY. So this is a great opportunity. Trust me, you guys have it good. It's just up to you to seize the opportunity. And it was great interacting with the community. Thank you so much for your time, guys.
Guys, W chat, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Can we share some W's for these guys? All right, guys. You guys see that? It's all love, guys.
W chat.
Hype is real.
Also, I think I tutored some of you guys. 5 years ago. I saw the messages. Dude, hit me up. I'd love to catch up with what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's crazy. The SET or SET accounts, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. Cool, awesome. So, and okay, I guess we'll wrap it off here. So, guys, thank you so much for being here, Sharia and Miguel. Appreciate your time. It's late out there too. It's late here, so it must be way later there. So again, Miguel, hopefully the best of things come to you, and this was all a great value add for you guys. That's all I'm here for.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a
Thanks
great
again,
night.
DC.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good night, everyone. Guys who are still here, I want to quickly share that if you do not have teammates, please find teammates. If you do not have teammates, please find teammates. Oh my God, I love that you were here from Cairo. That's amazing. The people who are here from 5 a.m., 7 a.m., you guys are incredible. Thanks. So yes, we paused Discord links. That is correct. We'll keep the Discord links paused until maybe tomorrow we'll open it up or Monday we'll open it up. But right now we want to take care of everyone who's in our Discord. So I appreciate everyone in the funny UK, Africa time. It's really nice to see a global community here. We will open up the invites, correct. We will open up the invites, but in a bit. So guys, who here does not have a team? Whoever here does not have a team, please share like your track of interest, share what like region you're in, some skills and backgrounds, and then your LinkedIn or Discord link. Probably, yeah, LinkedIn or Discord link, right? And actually, before you guys share, before that, did you guys like today's event? Before you share the team stuff, those who don't have team, did you guys like enjoy today's event? Okay, if you enjoy, because a lot of you guys have never experienced this. We've been doing this is our 13th event. 13th event we did this. Each one of them, we had the former AI of Duolingo, head of AI at Duolingo, former CPO of Hinge. We had someone who's building the International Space Station. We have multiple Nabils on panel. We had multiple software engineers, multiple directors of who had computer science backgrounds, like you saw Dustin today. By the way, just the directors make a lot of money, brother. They make tons of money, right? So everyone's super worried about what's my TC gonna be? How am I gonna be that software engineer? Forget all that stuff. Where the real juice is when you become a leader, right? When you become a manager. That's like when you have real impact and real say. And so that's it's really good. And Nabil is one of my heroes. So I'm hoping I get all the good stuff that Nabil has into me as well. So if you guys enjoy this, feel free to go to our Discord chat, please. Go to our Discord chat. You can definitely change teammates. You go to our Discord chat and then type like go to a channel called Zoom Recap and share what you learned from today. Those who are not able to be here, they can see from what's going on there. So go to Zoom Recap and share that. And then of course, please do post online. Go on LinkedIn, go on Reddit, go on Instagram, take snippets or Snapchat pictures, share with others. Show people that you're curious. Show people that you're learning. Take the biggest takeaways you got from Nabil or Shariar or whoever other journey that you really enjoyed. Take it. We'll have this event that we have like this every week, and I will try my best every week. We'll try to bring one company is going to hire from you guys. Ideally multiple, but at least one company that will hire from you guys, right? So so go ahead and post in the Zoom recap. Now, the people who here who do not have teammates, the hackathon will be online. Yes. So I had shared a link to the calendar for the hackathon. If you guys remember, I had shared a link to a calendar. So all the people who are accepted, they have a shareable calendar, one of the emails. Please check all the emails. Please check the Discord announcements. I will take a look at people's backgrounds. Anuj Patel, I'll look through your notes and I'll see if I can pin it. No problem. If it's a good one. So guys, feel free to and when I say Reddit, Headstarter has its own Reddit, right? So feel free to share your biggest takeaways on our own Reddit. That would be great, right? The quality of speakers and the knowledge and wisdom is incredible. So I'm like fanboying the same way you guys are. So It's cool. So please, those people who don't have teammates, please drop your information. And don't just drop your information. Go click on 15 others. Go click on 15 other people's informations. Please go click on 50 other people's information. I'm gonna leave the chat here. Omar, come on. I'm gonna work on you in the BDR role. No problem. Uh, okay, I'm gonna keep this chat alive. So guys, please reach out, be proactive, go to people, go find people on Discord, go find people in other places, right? And then things will happen. Also, use our IRL chats, right? Find people in your location. That's the best way to find teammates. Find people in your location. That is great. Yo, someone's spamming the chat, I think. Is P Siddhartha. You can't do that, man. That's not cool. Just send me an email or so we'll take a look at it. Yeah, your Indian YouTuber friend, please connect me with him. SP ready. Go to the contact at Headstarter, put on caps, Indian YouTuber friend. I'd love to host him for an event in New York or SF, right? So we'll do an in-person event with him, and we'll also maybe add him for a Zoom call. No problem. So SP Sudhirtha, thank you for making that, bringing that up. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You're not gonna be seen. Yes, I'm gonna upload. I'm gonna upload yesterday's recording. I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. All right. With that being said, I'm gonna close the meeting is over, but for those who don't have teams, we'll keep this alive for a little bit, right? And guys, we're gonna run this back again next week. We're gonna run it back again next week. And each week you're gonna see some incredible speakers. So thanks. Thanks for coming. Everyone else, please share your teammates' information. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.